So last time I did this, actually I discussed this before, but the last time I did this, we had we had we did it for the other side, for the Dire Safe lane and Radiant offlane. But now we're gonna be doing for the Radiant Safe lane, Dire offlane. I mean, it's mostly the same, right? Honestly. So let's just imagine that this is the bottom lane. You can see the towers somewhere like here, right? Now, the important thing is at the first creep wave, it's gonna meet around at the bend of the lane, right? So it's gonna meet around here, this general area. Now, what happens? What you guys need to know is that when they meet, you notice like there's gonna be a creep here, there's gonna be a creep here, there's gonna be a creep here, range creep here, and then the other side has a creep here, 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 and a range creep here. You guys are all familiar with this arrangement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, where the melee creeps meet, you can imagine one big line here. Okay, let's just call it the creep axis or whatever. Honestly, I don't have technical terms for it, but I want to sound cool, so let's do that. So here's the creep axis right here, and then the range creep will be somewhere here and here, right? So now we're gonna put green for radiant and red for dire. So we have the position one. He's probably gonna be standing around here, and then the dire off lane will be around here. Okay. So what you need to understand is that there is going to be like guide markers from this point where we go, where we draw it like this, basically at the 45-degree angle from the creep axis. All right, both sides. Make sense so far?
Yep.
I'm gonna make it a continuous line because I suck at drawing dots. So
Wait.
there and there,
Okay.
or roughly around there, with this the center being the creep axis. Okay. All right.
Wait.
The
Who's gonna be
important part, what determines where this line is mostly, is actually where the one and the three are. Okay. The reason the one and the three naturally stay in this position for the one and the three here is because the way that the creeps aggro and the way that the creeps stand relative to each other here, it's safer for the one and the three to be here. If the one is over here, the three is here. If they are equal strength, like they're the same hero with the same items, and like the same skill level of person, like clicking as many times as the opponent as the opponent's clicking on them, the one will die. Similarly, right? If the three is over here and they're fighting the one, and then the enemy creeps, the three will die even without this tower. Okay, just understand that, and that's why typically this is the arrangement you'll see. It will change if one person gets overwhelmingly stronger than the other, or like depending on lane conditions. But naturally, this is where the one will be, this is where the three will be, and if you're not here, you're probably doing something wrong, at least in the first wave. Okay. Now you have to understand that that's here. Now we'll be talking from purely the radiant perspective, but we can flip this for the dire. Okay. So now the question is, where are the supports? Okay. Let's say the five is here, behind the one in this part. This is what we like to call,
Useless.
yes, this is the useless zone. All right. If you are a five, okay, and you stand behind your one in this useless zone for the majority of the laning phase for no good reason. And in fact, you'll find out later that there's very little reason to ever be here. Okay, you are genuinely useless. Like any asshole can pick Shadow Shaman and not farm all game and feed all game, and then come at the end of the game, you come to the position one and you're like bitching, oh GG, pause walk 30 minutes, no farm. Like honestly, fuck you. Like you are the bane of all carry players. Like you genuinely are contributing nothing. Okay, just want this very clear. Okay.
You don't need to be aggressive, bro. I think you're projecting.
You are useless. You are trash. Please shut the fuck up. All right, now let's get into there. So this is the useless zone. Basically, the only time I want to see you here is if you're salving up, or if you get pushed back here and then you start making a move back into the other parts of the pie. Okay, but if you are here like by default without the opponent doing anything, you are genuinely useless. and you are doing more harm than good in this lane. Okay. Next, basically all you'll be doing there if you're standing here is you'll be providing like you'll be a cheerleader for this one. You're like, go, Mr. Carry, go fight them 1v2. We believe in you. All the while sapping XP that prevents him from ever being able to 1v2 effectively. Okay, so that's useless here. Useless / salve or clarity. Now,
Okay.
here we'll call this defensive. All right, it's a similar concept where, and then we can call this offensive. And again, obviously for the other side, this will be the offensive will be defensive, and this will be the offensive part, right? Just flip it in your head. So we could call this defensive for the red, and offense for the dire. But obviously you can be defensive on this side too for dire, right? And this is just for demonstration. All right. So this is the defensive, offensive, defensive, offensive. It really depends. Now the same concept applies here. If there's a character in the defensive, right? The support is here, and then the other support is here. Like if they have this, they're the same hero with the same amount of farm, with the same amount of items and levels and skill. The 5 will win here, right? Now, similarly, if if the 5 is here and the 4 is here, then the 4 will win here. Okay, but again, this is, I have to emphasize, this is the start of the game basically, and even then, that's still debatable because you know some heroes are much stronger than others, even at level 1, even with the same amount of gold. But for yeah. So the idea here is it's going to be a massive like sumo match between the position 4s. Okay, so the first thing you can see is like most of the time the supports will default to the side if they're any good. If they're behind the carry, then they're behind the carry. If they're halfway decent, they'll be on the left or on the right. But in this case, probably the left. This is like the tree line. Just imagine there are trees here, right? But anyway, they'll be fighting here, and then they'll be trading spells. They'll be trading right clicks. Eventually, one of them is gonna get low, and so if the guy's any good, he's gonna be like, oh shit, I'm about to die. In that case, let's say the 5 wins the trades, right? It's a Willow versus a Shaman. So the Shaman is able to beat up the 4 so much that he's like, okay, time for me to run. He goes here, and then the 5 will be here, right? More realistically, 4 will be around here, hiding, and then the 5 will be around here. What do you notice happens here?
It's bad for the 3.
It's really bad for the 3 because the 5 and the 1 are like in super close proximity to the 3, and it's gonna become a 1v2. It's gonna temporarily, at least. Now, this is why I say this is the salve area. So if the support here has a salve, then he'll probably salve up. Okay, and he doesn't want to move. If the 4 moves here, back again while still salving, then it's gonna get cancelled, and he's going to, you know, he's gonna regret his life choices. Okay, and then once this 4 has salved up, and let's say they're still roughly equal in every other way, what's gonna happen is the 5 eventually gets pushed back here, or if the 5 is really aggressive or really fucked up, then he'll get pushed back all the way to here, and then it's his turn to be useless. Right? But basically, like the general idea is, I think it should default to here. The 5 is here, the 4 is here. And then it continues, right? So when we're talking about this, like what determines who gets pushed out? That's gonna be determined by who has more regen. It's gonna be determined by who is like has higher base damage, right? Ranged versus melee, if you're able to kite the opponent. Nuke damage, spell damage, whatever. All of those factors matter because even if this 4 is like half the strength of you, if he has 3 times as much HP, which basically means he has 3 times as many lives as you, you're gonna lose because the 4 is buying regen and you're like, oh, I'm gonna save for a null talisman, guys, and you're gonna end up with 100 health and a null talisman, and you're either going to be dead or in the useless zone. And that's why it's very important to have regen. Okay, so that's the general idea. Like hopefully the 4 will be able to push will be able to get into this position without dying, without getting bullied, right? And then the enemy, and then they can focus on the carry. Or you already saw the 5 and the 1 focusing on the offline, right? That's the general idea, and that's how things work. Now, after that, that's the position, the ideal position you want to get into. Now we're gonna talk about Undying, okay? Because typically breaks this setup really easily on his own, or Ogre even. But I think Undying is better. But yeah, so what sometimes you'll see is that the carry is here, the creeps are here, right? And then because because the 5 is so strong at level 1, or just really hard counters them. So usually this is Undying, this is Ogre. Trend Protector sometimes, but most of the time it's Undying. Okay? What you will see is that the 5 will be here, the 3 will be here, and the 1 will be here. Right? So basically this means this is a complete stomp for Raiden at this moment. What the carry wants to do then is he wants to be able to move to here. Now, why would he want to move here? Because your 5 is basically soloing the 3 and the 4 by himself, right? He's taking care of them, he's zoning them out. Now the thing is, the 5 can only zone them out like a certain radius from the carry. Like if he steps out of this safe zone that the carry can approach, like the carry wants to still be getting last hits, right? So the carry has a circle where he can attack and can be useful. He wants to keep the creeps there so he can get the last hits. And the 5 generally doesn't want to stray too far from this circle, because otherwise he's going to get bullied by the 3 and the 4 so much that he eventually dies. And this is usually like the common mistake of Undyings and Ogres, is that they overplay and then they step so far out of the circle that the 1 cannot help them without missing a lot of last hits. So they bait their 1 into either helping them, right? Which means they sacrifice a lot of last hits, or that the enemy team will either bully him so that he can't do this again, right? Obviously, this is the ideal position, so you want to do it for as long as humanly possible. But if he screws up and he uses too much HP, uses too much mana, eventually he's going, even if it's an Undying, he's going to end up back here. And then the carry will have to be back here, and he will be back to being useless. Okay? So there again, as a carry, there's like a certain radius that you can affect, that you can help. If your support is so strong that you guys can stand on the other side of the creep wave, you should. Because that means that the enemy heroes are not getting any last hits, like at all. And you're probably denying most of the creeps if you're any good at last hit. So that's the idea there. Okay? Again, it's similar for the other side, but the thing is, why is it the safe lane? Is because it is almost impossible for the 4 to be here, and for the 1 to be here, and for the 5 to be here, at least at the start of the game. Why?
The star, the tower?
Because of the tower. Yeah, the star is
okay.
the tower. So, because of that tower, that's why it's safe. Because the very first wave, right? Everything else is equal, but the safe lane has the tower here. And so it's basically impossible. But you notice, right? If it's the Undying 5, it's usually good. He's going to be here, and he's going to be zoning these guys out. Even at level 1. Now, that's the idea behind this pushing and pulling thing, where basically the 4 and the 5 generally try to push each other out. Now you're asking, okay, so Paradise, what about when let's say the opponent 5 it's a shaman and you're a willow, right? Like that's the example I gave earlier. So what is the 4 supposed to do if the 5 will always beat him out in trades, right? What basically happens if the 4 is here and the 5 is here, the 4 will end up being pushed here every time, and the 5 will end up going here every time, assuming they're of equal skill. Which, technically you can get better at this, but let's assume that no. Okay, so what is the response, right? Remember, the goal ultimately is to be aggressive in the aggressive position against the opponent core. And if you notice, if you're a 4, this is the aggressive position for you. This is the defensive position, this will be the aggressive position. But realistically speaking, you're never gonna get here. Do you guys know where you can go? that will let
Yeah.
you
On
be
the
in
other side?
aggressive position.
But you cannot stand at the 4 right now if they won't melee.
You can go to the
On
other
right
side.
side.
Yeah.
Here, right? And so
Yeah,
basically,
in the
this
jungle.
is if you're weaker than the opponent, like this is typically where you see wind laces and boots being bought. If you're weaker than the shaman, let's say this is a shaman, this is a willow, what you do is you move to the other side. Alright? And then if the shaman is good, the shaman is slow, he's gonna eventually move here and he's gonna push you back. Right? And then so if you have boots, if you're a Kotl, if you're somebody with fast movement speed, then you rotate back here. Right? So it depends how quickly you can rotate between the positions, and it depends what items you bought. So if you bought boots, chances are you can do this much more effectively than the shaman with like salves and mangoes. Right?
Yeah, if you're axe, you can probably stay there.
Well, if you're an axe, you're probably not the support there. But
Wait,
anyway,
there's I see the game with axe support before, and I just die a lot when I stay there.
it's not common, and I think if we're talking Dota theory, we need to talk about the more conventional things because we need to learn the rules before we learn the exceptions, right? Okay, so here, that's generally what you do. If you're the support, it goes here. Now, there's another question that comes up, right? Let's say they decide to do something evil, and then they go. I think we can. I think we can delete this slide. Okay, let's say they go something evil. They have a offlane CK and they have a witch doctor. Okay. Now, in case you don't know, like basically, what the problem with offlane CK Witch Doctor for is that if they deal a crap ton of damage, if Witch Doctor lands his cask and his maledict, and CK stuns you, you're going to lose like half your HP, if not die. Alright? And so even if like we have this them being in the defensive part, just one coconut from this guy will on this guy, and then this guy stunning him immediately after is going to either kill the 5 or force him to go back to base. Right? Or burn up a salve, and then the next time they do it, he doesn't have a salve, and then he'll go back to base. So this is the danger. It is a very let's just write that down. It's a dangerous kill combo, and I think you guys will see this a lot, right? Now you ask yourselves, okay, how do we deal with this? And I'm gonna tell you, there's a keyword in this dangerous kill combo that will like give you an insight on like how to beat this lane
Combo.
combo, right? They are only dangerous if they're actually together. Like CK on his own is still powerful for sure, but it's not nearly as scary as CK and Witch Doctor. So what can a support do to mess up to split them up, right? Trading with them probably won't work, because if you're a support and you decide I'm gonna go here, what they're gonna do is they're gonna go right on your carry, and he's going to die. Right. So there is one thing you can do, where you can give your bring the creeps closer to your tower, where you can bring the creeps closer to your tower, where you can deny the opponent's XP, give yourselves XP. What is that thing that you can do as a 5?
Pull key micro.
Right. So pulling is the answer here. Now, so basically what will happen, right? We're gonna zoom out a little bit here. So there's the offlane here, and the carry is here. The CK is scary. Even if you have like an AM, he's probably gonna lose still, right? So, but at least it's not going to be. So what you do is you tell your carry, hide in the trees, play safe, don't get stunned, right? Don't go for the last hits. And then the 5 goes over here, and then he pulls the creep wave back. Now, when this gets pulled like this, therefore has 2 options. He can either most likely if they're not paying attention, then they do nothing, and then you end up getting XP, right? You get gold for both heroes, and you get safety, so that means you don't die. Your carry doesn't die. Your carry doesn't have to spend a shit ton of money on regen, which basically means more XP, more gold, right? So if they do nothing, then the support fucked up. Then that means you just won just by pulling, right? But let's assume that their support is good, and their support decides to contest your pull camp here. Okay, you notice what happens, right?
The split. It's not a combo anymore.
It's not a combo. It's not a dangerous kill combo anymore. And so AM, while he might still lose, he'll maybe get 2 last hits. The CK will get 4 last hits, right? But it's still better than 0 last hits and the CK getting 4 last hits, or the AM getting 3 last hits and then getting murdered immediately afterwards, right? So that's one option. And so if you're in this position where you know they're in a dangerous pull combo and you know your only play is to pull the small camp, what is one thing that you need to make sure you do at the start of the game?
Block their pull camp.
Right? Because if the opponent is good, what they can also opt to do is that they can go here to the pull camp and then they can pull their own wave. And the thing is, this is a hard camp, okay? And the hard camp will kill more creeps and give them more XP and gold than you will get from here. So if you're doing this and they're doing this, it can be okay, but generally they're going to win in this trade, right? So what the two things you want to make sure, if you are much weaker than them and they are like a very dangerous kill combo, is one, you need to make sure that your pull camp is safe. Spend on sentries. Run here as soon as the creeps as the game starts. Run here, scout it out so you can see if they're going to block your camp. Because if they block your camp, right? When are you gonna know? It's gonna be at the 1 minute mark when nothing spawns, right? At like the earliest you're gonna know they blocked your camp is 1 minute, right? And then so you're gonna kill it, and so the next time you'll be able to pull is at 2:15 because the creeps will spawn at 2 minutes and you'll be able to pull at 2:15. So basically what you did is you're in a lane where you guys will lose every time they're together, but you let them be together for 2 minutes and 15 seconds because you were still buying your items at the start of the game, because you didn't have a sentry ready, because you weren't watching your camp. So if you guys get fucked in lane as a support, this is your fault. Like, the carry can do certain things to deal with it, and a really good carry who's outskilling his opponent will be okay regardless, right? To a degree, but this is your job. You need to block the opponent's pull so that they can't get their trade. But failing that, sometimes they will do it. Failing that, at least you have to be able to pull this like without it getting blocked. That's it. Okay? Those are your options. That's why it's important that this will lead into my next point, which is like starting items. Okay, so we saw all of those examples, right? Now, a Willow has a base damage of something like 48, I think, right? Do we have any Willow players here?
Not me.
It's like 40 something. Or we can do like Kotl, which is like 43 or something ridiculously tiny like that. And then you have a Shaman with like 60 base damage. Okay. So you're right-clicking each other. Who wins here?
Shaman.
Shaman.
Because Shaman have the spell too.
And he has the spell too, yeah. Exactly. So let's say you get a null talisman. This gives you 6 int. Right? So this is typically what happens with the support. This becomes from 43, this becomes 49 damage. And Shaman
50.
is 60.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Who's gonna win this trade?
Shaman.
Still Shaman. So if you're the Willow in this case and you bought a null talisman, did you do anything? With
No.
your 600 gold? Nothing, right? You don't have that much regen, you don't have that much, still don't have enough damage. So that's when you consider, like, you still can't win the trade, so maybe that's when you consider getting boots. Right? So you're 49 damage, but you're 49 damage over here. And then when the Shaman comes here, right? Like, he has a lot of damage, but he's also one of the slowest supports in the game. So if you have boots, you can do this, and then you can move here. And then when he moves here, you can move back here. And so on and so on. And this is like learning what is your hero weak at, what is your hero strong at, and what does that mean for this lane, right? Now we get into the other example of starting items, right? Fudge. Okay,
Amen.
good enough. Okay, now let's say that their support gets
Come.
okay, let's say that their support is, let's go back to that witch doctor example, right? Let's say that their support is a witch doctor and your support is whatever. Honestly doesn't even matter most of the time, right? And you need to split them up, right? And you knew that your goal was to pull and to stop them from pulling. What item do you need to buy? Is it boots? What item do you buy that is going to make sure that their opponent can't pull and that you can pull?
Sentry.
Sentry.
I mean ward.
Sentry wards, yeah, exactly. Sentry wards, right? So maybe you spend what is a sentry ward, like 75, right? So it's like 150.
No, 50.
Oh, it's 50 now. So you spend 100 gold on sentry wards, and because of that, you're going to do the best case scenario, which is, you know, you're fighting you're pulling and the opponent's not pulling. And this is how items can like make or break things, right? But for whatever reason, let's say you're a shaman and let's say you died a lot, and so their support, it's a willow, but she has like 3 null talismans already, and she does like 80 damage.
7. Oh,
Let's just say she does 80 damage because she's leveled up, and you deal, let's say you're 60 damage, right? Let's say
70.
she has no, let's just say you have 60 damage, right? So the problem is now when it's all things are equal and it's things are not equal anymore, right? This guy got first blood, he got boots, he got a null talisman, he killed you again, and then you're fucked in this position. So what can you do?
I think I would get the water. What is it? The water of something that.
Raindrops.
Raindrops? No, it's not. Basically the thing is, there's no item in the game that will let you beat like the opponent having 1,000 gold on you at this stage of the game. Okay, so the idea is when you're fucked like this, is you have to cut your losses. You can't expect to win your lane anymore. Instead, like your plan is to do whatever it takes to make sure that your offlaner gets, if not a good lane, then doesn't get completely destroyed. Right? This is especially important for offlaners that need to win their lane, like a Viper or a Necro, because if they lose their lane, like, if it's a Bristleback that loses his lane, then maybe you can go stack camps, right? And then just tell the offlaner, sit tight, wait for me, and I will win for you. Or if it's a Razor, you can't do that anymore. Stacking won't help them come back into the game. But the problem, some people will default to this mindset, and then they're like, okay, I lost the lane, I gotta stack a camp. So that's all you're gonna do, which can be okay. Like, okay, you can say your offlaner is useless, and you're like, we give up on that lane. Offlaner, good luck, buddy. And then you decide to stack for your mid TA. That might be fine, right? But if we're talking purely about you know, not winning this lane, but positively affecting this lane as much as you can, then maybe you can just pull a camp, right? Maybe you can just buy 3 or 4 more salves so that the offlaner can stay in the wave for another 3 or 4 creep waves. He can get his level 6 and he can get out, right? So in addition to talking about like starting items, which is super important, by the way, right? And I can explain to you why. Because certain items let you do certain things better, and like certain strategies are necessary to win the lane. Now we get into that next point, which is we're gonna get into the we're gonna get into lane expectations. Okay, so let's say for whatever reason these guys are Radiant likes classic things, and they have let's talk about lane expectations. What is a carry's expectation from a lane? What does he want from a lane?
Farm. Farm.
A carry wants a farm. Wants his farm. Does the offlaner want farm?
Yes.
Experience.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, farm.
Okay. But more importantly, he wants to make sure that the carry doesn't get to
Doesn't.
farm. If he gets to farm, then that's good. But if he doesn't get farm and the carry doesn't get farm, who wins?
Offlaner.
And that's an example of differing expectations. Okay? So the carry wants farm and the offlaner wants farm, but one wants it more than the other. That's why he's the 3, and that's why this guy is the 1. Okay? Generally, that's true. Now, so what does this mean? If a carry spends 30 seconds, right, chasing this offlaner around, diving under
Wait.
tower, he loses all of his HP. Is it worth it for him? Is he happy
No.
with this?
No.
No.
No, because he spent 30 seconds missing 4 creeps. And all he got for it is to kill the offlaner, sure, but he misses a lot of HP. Right? If the offlaner does the exact same thing, spends 30 seconds killing the enemy carry, and all of his HP, is it okay?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Now,
That's time that the 1 is not getting farmed.
yeah, that's time the 1 isn't getting farmed. The offlaner is not getting farmed, but that's okay because the 1 is not getting farmed. So the safe laner typically thinks of things in absolute terms. He just wants farm. He doesn't care how. Like, this is not true. Like, the higher you get, like, there are more complicated things. But generally, the safe lane wants, like, say 400 GPM every laning phase for the first 10-15 minutes. If he doesn't get this, it doesn't matter how little the offlaner farms. Generally, he's still going to be quite unhappy. Because if he doesn't get farm, right? And then the enemy carry gets farm, who will win later?
Enemy carry.
The enemy carry, right? Because that's why things differ in expectations, right? Mid lane, it's a bit different. Usually, if it's mid, it depends on the matchup. But generally, if you're getting more farm than the opponent, that's fine.
Range creep.
Off laner, if the less the carry farms, that's fine. For a safe laner, the more you farm, that's fine. These are all differing goals and expectations. Now that's just like in terms of your role in the game, your position in the game. What about if the carry decides, okay, let's have they watch like EI2 or something, and then they want to try laning, and there are 2 enemy heroes on the opponent team. Okay, so the lane setup looks like this. There's 2 in top lane, 1 in the mid lane, 2 here, and here there's gonna be 1 here, 1 here, and 3 here. Okay, so in the mid lane, this is like whatever. I don't care. Honestly, I don't care. This is like a 50-50. It mostly depends on the matchup and the skill, right? But let's just looking at the numbers. Not even telling me what the other heroes are. Who should win top lane?
The 2 people.
Enemy.
Yeah, these guys should win, right? And then in the bottom lane, who should win?
Carry.
3. Radiant. Yeah.
Right? And you think, okay, yeah, we secure a carry. Yeah, okay. But the thing is, when you invest 3 heroes into a lane, and the
Less
opponent
XP.
only puts 2, right? That means your other lane is getting farmed. If assuming the opponents are good and your offlaner is like just as good as them, your offlaner is completely getting destroyed because it's 2v1 all the time, right? So this 3 and this 2, the safe lane should be getting more farm. It's not okay that the carry gets farm and the offlaner also gets farm. Like I said before previously, the carry is happy just to get farm and doesn't care what happens to the offlaner. But if the offlaner is there are only 2 in the offlane and 3 in the safe lane, then the offlaner, the roles reverse. The offlaner is happy to get farm. It doesn't care anymore about the carry because honestly, it's realistically speaking, it's very unlikely that you're gonna win a tri lane against a tri lane if you're only 2 heroes.
Oh, we lose. Like I
Right?
played
You
trial,
expect
I
to
lose.
Like if the offlaner gets 40%, 40 let's just say whatever, 40 farm, 40 XP, 40 gold, and the carry gets 60 in a tri lane, who's happy here?
Offlane.
Who's succeeding?
Offlane.
The Yeah,
Off
the
lane.
offlaner succeeded
Not worth it.
because the offlaner only invested 2 heroes and they got almost as much as the carry. So realistically speaking, if we're talking about it, like in classic tri lanes, you have to expect at least. I would say this is just like off the top of my head. I would say like you'd get
80 and 40.
and 20. And
Oh.
this adds up to 100. So basically,
And like another
the
kill.
offlaner will be like level. If the carry has like 10,000 XP, the offlaner will have. Right, let's just do it 8,000. I'm lazy to do math. 8,000 XP the carry. Whatever level that is, the offlaner should have 2,000 XP or so. That's just off the top of my head. Those aren't hard numbers. But generally, the idea is true. If you're safe lane and you win your lane, and then at the end of the game you're like the opponent's, but then the offlaner recovered. He got his blink dagger because he only got shut down a little bit instead of by a lot. Then you don't have a right to bitch because honestly it's your fault. You invested 3 heroes and you didn't actually win your lane as hard as you could have, right? Similar concept exists not just with the number of heroes you put into a lane, but also by the heroes you pick. Okay? So if the enemy hero picks something like what's a classic mid counter pick? Like, give me one off the top of your head. Like
TA and someone I forgot.
Razor, Viper.
Razor,
Yeah.
Viper. Okay. TA versus Viper. I think this is like a perfect example because these heroes are like in the meta right now. So there's a Viper here, and there's a TA here. Okay. Now what happens if the Viper wins a 60, gets 60%, and then the TA gets 40%?
Of course, Viper win.
Viper wins the
Vi-
lane. Yes.
TA's gotta go to jungle, I guess. Her
If TA
timing's delayed.
Yeah, exactly. And if this Viper like gets last pick and then he counter picks TA and he gets only 60%, and the TA only goes down to 40%, I will say that technically yes, Viper did win the lane, but at the same time he did not win it enough. Because when you pick counters like this, you expect to crush the opponent, not just win the lane, but like completely dumpster them. Like if the Viper is level 6, then the max the TA should be is 4. At least that's my experience. Maybe even the Viper will be 7 or 8 and the TA will still be 4 or 5. Okay? And this is what I would consider a 1 lane. So if you're a Viper, you pick Viper into TA and you win your lane, and then suddenly later on in the game, the TA comes back, she gets her farm, and then she one-shots your team, right? At the end of the game, you're like, GG, my carry is so noob, fuck my team, I won my lane, everybody else sucks. You're wrong, and you're the asshole. Because you were given so much by being given that Viper versus TA matchup that you should have absolutely shat on her to the point that recovering like even getting any kind of farm at all was like a pipe dream for this TA. But and recovering was basically impossible. Okay? You're the asshole. I don't care if you won your lane because you were supposed to win your lane. That's the bare fucking minimum that you should do in a Viper versus TA matchup. I'm not gonna talk about if the TA outskills the Viper because then at that point we're talking about somebody who's significantly better at their hero than the opponent is. Right? But so we're just talking about realistically speaking 60%, 40%. This is not good enough. Now this translates into again the safe lane off lane concept where if you invest a lot of resources, so that could mean more heroes, right? It could be more heroes. That could be mid ganks. That could be more heroes, mid ganks. That could also be counter picks, especially in like captain's mode. If you pick like a troll into an axe, and the only reason you pick troll is to counter the axe in lane, then you should be stomping that lane.
Mid ganks as in for ganking the mid, or
Well, no, like the mid coming to gank for you guys. Like the more times he does that, the more your team invests in the lane, and the more your team expects you to crush that lane. Right? Sometimes it's like, let's say it's like a hard counter. So like you have a, let's say you have a PL versus Timbersaw. Okay? Like Timbersaw absolutely shits on PL. Until PL gets a defusal, which usually, and all Timbersaw needs to shit on PL is level 6. Okay? Timbersaw at level 6. PL at level 6, PL gets absolutely fucked. Okay? So in this case, if the mid play, so this is like, so the Timbersaw is probably gonna get like 80%, the PL will consider himself lucky to get 20%. If the mid player ganks like twice, it's okay, even though like the PL will get, let's say 50% and the Timbersaw will get 50%. Because the matchup, like what you expect from that lane, was so bad that this is a significant improvement already. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But, and this is why I generally, like, let's say I'm a troll and I'm like level 8, and then there's a Pangolier that's level 4. I will actively tell my mid, don't bother ganking this lane, because if I'm already getting, let's say, 90% of the lane, right, and this Pango is getting 10% of the lane, and the mid laner comes to gank, what did he really accomplish? Like, how much more can I shut down this Pangolier for it to matter? Right? So if he ganks twice, then suddenly I expect to get 100%, to shut him down 100% and give him literally 0, which is very difficult to accomplish in Dota. Right? So at that point, like, why will you invest more resources into a lane that you're already very clearly winning? And then sometimes I'll be like, don't gank here. Go gank top, go get farm. Like, I don't care what you do, but you don't need to be here. I don't want another hero wasting their time on this Pangolier, because he's not worth it. He's level 4, he's garbage. He lost his lane, he's not a very good player, because I played against him in lane, and I'm like, he's not worth your time. Right? And then similarly, like, you don't want your pause 4 coming down bot to gank this Pango when it's like this. Right? When would you want a gank? Would be like something like, let's say the Pango is, let's say, I don't care what the hero is, you're getting 50%, and then the opponent's also getting 50%, right? And then suddenly with like 2 ganks, you start winning really hard because you get the items you need. You get 90% and the opponent gets 10%. That's like a good gank. That's worth it for your team to invest in ganking at that point, right? So even if you have like an Ember, even if you have a Razor, I would much rather that the mid laner or whatever hero that wants to rotate to my lane as a troll, go somewhere else, do something else. Farm, I don't care. Push a lane, I don't care. Anything else that isn't ganking this Pango, because the more they gank him, the more you expect me, like, you guys feel good because you're like, lol, we're stomping this Pango. But at the same time, who are you not stomping? Whose lane are you not pushing? Right? Who is getting less fucked than they should be, because this Pango is taking all of the focus of your team on him. And even if he's level 4 for the rest of the game, if the rest of their team has been left to completely free farm, then it doesn't matter. Right? Eventually he's gonna get roll, and yes, he doesn't deal a lot of damage. Yes, he doesn't have any items, but the roll is annoying even at level 1, right? It's enough to disrupt a fight. It's enough to force your heroes to move away, to get BKBs, like a good Pango anyway. And so it's not worth it. Right? So these are like the different concepts you have to consider when you're making like considering matchups in your head. Like, first, what can you do? What is the plan, right? Do I have to pull? Do I try to lane normally, beat them out through sheer skill, which can be the case if it's 50-50, right? Do I have to move to the other side of the lane and focus on harassing the carry? Then do that. right? And then the sub question for that is, what do I buy? Which should be like lockstep with what can I do, because what you buy affects what you can do, and what you can do can should influence what you buy. So if you buy boots, your plan is to trade with the opponent's if you buy boots and your plan is to trade with the opponent, like every time they hit you and you hit them, and you're just on the side trading with each other, then you bought the wrong item. Right? If your plan is to just pull, make sure that they can't pull, and you buy boots, then you bought the wrong item. Right? So what do I buy? And then what's the next question? What do I want? Right? Like I said, some teams will invest ganks, they'll invest numbers of heroes, and they will invest counter picks into a certain lane. And so the more you invest, the more you need to want, and the more you need to get, or I consider it a failure. The more numbers you put in, the more you want out of the lane, and the more I consider it a failure to just go either. So these are the big questions I feel for laning phase, actually. Now, before we get into like the quick demonstration game that I was talking to you guys about, there is one more thing I want to talk about, which is pulls. Okay, so let's just say this is the lane, and then this is the hard camp, and this is the small camp here. Okay, then let's say this is the tower here, and the opponent's tower is somewhere there. Okay, makes sense. Now, what you need to know is that by default that the creep wave will meet around here, right? The safe lane
Yes.
creep wave will meet. So it depends. Actually, I need to make this diagram smaller. Okay. And then let's say this is the river here. It's the river here. And then here's the hard camp. This is a small camp here. Okay. And then this is their tower here, and your tower here. Okay. Now, when is it good to pull? Which is an important thing. Like against certain heroes, like let's say Slardar. Let's talk
When the lane is getting pushed.
Viper, things like this.
If you play with Viper, always pull.
Yeah, please just let me continue first. Okay.
Okay.
So basically, the idea here is there's some lanes like this where if your carry is here, right, and their offlaner is here, it doesn't matter if you're 1v2 or if it doesn't matter if you're 1v2, or it doesn't matter if you guys got a little bit more farm, because what will happen is there's some heroes, I call them chasers, where if this is the case, what will happen is that this guy will hit your carry, and then your carry will run back to your tower, right? And while this is happening, this guy is hitting you over and over and over and over and over again, all the way until tower. And then I say, like right at the edge of the tower range, back up, right? So if you're a kind of so that this is the ideal. So if you're a Slardar, and this is if you're a Slardar and then this is a Juggernaut or a Spectre, then this is what you want. Like if you can keep the creeps here, far away from their tower, then you can hit them over and over again and zone them out. Now, tip, right? And then the problem is most people aren't aware of this, and it kind of just happens on instinct. And sometimes, some games, if the creep waves happen to be here, then they're gonna crush the Spectre and they're gonna like, lol, easy bot, whatever. And sometimes, if for whatever reason that they can't understand either, the creep wave is here, right? The carry is here. The Slardar is here. Can the Slardar really chase the carry? How many times can he hit him before he has to dive tower to do it?
In one.
Once, twice, maybe
twice.
at most. And this is the important difference, right? Back here, he could have hit him 5 or 6 times on the way down. And here, he could have only hit him once or twice. Right? So, we know that this is the ideal. There are some lanes that this is the ideal here. There are some lanes where this is the ideal here. Right? It depends on which hero we're asking. And then there's some lanes where it doesn't matter. Okay? For a quick example, like where this would be okay for the carry is, let's say you're a Drow and you're against Veno or something, and then you just absolutely stomp them no matter where they are. Or opposite, like when is it often that the offlaner doesn't care where the creeps are? Maybe it's a Timbersaw that's stomping his lane. Right? If the Timbersaw is like level 7 already, and then the carry is like level 5, it does not matter if the carry is under tower. Like the Timbersaw will dive him and he will kill him. Okay? But typically with most heroes, again, it's not going to be that simple. And so there are options available. Even against the Timbersaw, like you notice the caveat I mentioned. He's like level 5 or level 7 himself, and the carry is level 5 himself, right? Well, I guess this part doesn't matter so much, but the offlaner being level 5 or whatever is what matters. So in this case, before that point, and for most other matchups, the lane position matters a lot, right? Even if you can win here, let's say you're a Drow, you can win here. Like, if you're gonna chase them down to tower, right, you can hit them once, twice, thrice, 4 times. If you're here, once, twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, 9 times, 10 times, 11 times, 12 times. Basically, anybody without some kind of blink or leap or escape is probably going to die if you can chase them all the way down here, right? So this is where laning position matters. So this is where the creeps naturally meet. And so what happens is you have to imagine like a line. So let's get into carry. Let's just get into like good zones, bad zones of the lane, right? So if we're talking Radiant, then this until maybe here, good, right? Here to maybe here. Let's just call it meh, and then from here all the way till here is generally bad. Now, if you're strong enough, it doesn't matter, right? But for the majority of the laning stage, which is the first 0 to, let's say, 7 minutes, this does matter a lot, right? So when it gets into the meh zone, that's when you can start thinking about pulls. What happens if it's in the good zone, then what you can do as a support, and you don't need to be here, you can go here and you can stack, right? It's basically you investing in the future, where you know that right now you don't need anything, you're good, but like in case the lane gets pushed out, in case you go for a kill and you shove the lane out in the process, you can always bring it back with by pulling on the stack that you made. Okay, so here in the meh zone, it depends, right? Like if you think you can still zone them out, then zone them out. If you think that it's better that you go pull, then go pull, right? Like basically coaching teaches you like the right questions to ask, and playing and experience will tell you the right answers to those questions. So here I just wanted to ask, what should I be doing? Should I be harassing? Should I be stacking? And then your experience will inform you which of the two you should do. And then if you're wrong, then eventually you'll come to realize
Gain
it,
experience.
and you'll get better at deciding in future games, right? In the bad, if you're in the bad zone, you almost always want to pull, because there's nothing more important right there. Because if you trade, it's going to be a bad trade, right? Here it's gonna be a meh trade, and here it's gonna be a good trade. So if you're in a good trade, then you should trade, right? Because it's a good trade, obviously. If it's a meh trade, then it depends on what your heroes are, what the opponent's heroes are. If their support goes to pull or whatever, then maybe it's okay because it's 2v1. It's still going to be a good trade for you, whether or not you're in the meh zone, right? And bad zone, like typically the only time you really want to trade there is if you kill their support or their support is go off to gank somewhere else, right? So what happens when a support goes to stack? Now this is an important thing. Stack or pull. Generally, I will advise stacking is only good if you know that your carry isn't going to lose too much. The problem with a lot of supports is they go to stack, and then basically what happens is they're going to be gone for 30 seconds. Or fine, let's be generous and say 25 seconds to stack, right? And then they have to be gone for another 25 seconds to pull.
Yeah.
So basically, they're letting their carry 1v1, a 1v2 for 50 seconds, and that's really not that great. Okay, so but if it's in the good zone, it could be okay, because then if it's in the good zone, you don't need to trade, you don't need to zone anyone up, then stack, right? And then this basically doesn't matter. But if you're in the meh zone or you're in the bad zone and you just leave your carry to stack, what's going to end up happening is your carry is going to be in the trees, not getting last hits, or your carry is going to be up here. One second. Okay. Who is this? I got a call from like an unknown number. Anyway, yeah. So if you are if you're in the good zone, then maybe you can save for a rainy day. Like you're already quite good. You're not really zoning. What the fuck is this? Okay. So anyway, that's the general idea here. Is you need to stack when it's good for you guys. It's kind of like economics, where like a government is meant to save in the good times and spend in the bad times. So here, this is the saving, is stacking, and spending is the pulling. So
And a way to stack without making the enemy farm it, like axe.
okay, so sometimes that's a possibility that the enemy will farm the stack. But typically, if the enemy is farming your stack, then don't stack it. If he's farming this camp, then don't stack it. And if the enemy is here, right? If the enemy is here, then it gives your carry some time to farm here. Right? So there's trade-offs. Like typically the enemy offlaner can't go from here, farm this entire creep wave, and then run here. There's just not enough time to do both. So he's either going to farm this and completely leave your carry alone, or if he's stomping, then he's gonna go here, catch your creep wave, and then farm it here. And that's something else he can do, right? So it's important when you're pulling to know that if you're in the good zone and you pull, it's actually quite bad for your carry, especially if your carry is ranged. Like if your carry is Terrorblade, it might not matter too much, or PL, it might not matter too much because you have crap tons of armor. But the less armor your carry has, and you're in the good zone and you decide to pull, you are actually hurting them. Because if the opponent is good, the carry will be here on their tower. The opponent will be here harassing them, and they have an entire creep wave hitting your carry. Okay? And your carry is there all alone, and there are two heroes here ganging up on him. He might even die here because of your pull. So again,
one time I pulled so much and my tower died in like 6 minutes.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. You're over pulling. You're not thinking about when you actually need to pull, which is when it's in the meh or when it's in the bad, right? Now I want you to know that when it's in the meh or the bad, what should happen? If it's in the meh or bad, what should happen, guys? Like we just discussed it. It's not a trick question. What should happen?
Pull?
Who pulls?
Oh, support.
Ideally, it's gonna be the support, but as I've learned, it doesn't have to be. If the support is useless, if the support told you to go fuck yourself, then you as a carry need to pull this yourself. All right?
What if support is there?
Just wait. If the support is not pulling for whatever reason or doesn't know how to pull, this is this is important that you pull yourself. All right, because if you insist on going here, you might get 1 or 2 last hits, but you're going to lose all of your HP doing it, and it's not worth it. Right? So if you're gonna pull this, you can maybe get the last hits in the small camp, but more importantly, you're paying attention to where the creep wave is. Okay, it's important because what's gonna happen if you pull this? Their creeps are gonna come into tower, and they're gonna damage your tower. If you're the carry and you're alone, they're gonna damage your tower, and you're gonna miss all of these last hits. And yeah, you got a small camp, but that's not worth as much as the creeps you missed here. So it's better if you're gonna pull as a carry. Typically, you're gonna pull, and then go straight back to the lane because the creeps are about to hit your tower. Okay. It's similar for the offlaner, but it's a bit wonkier because of the distances. So it's not as bad if you pull, even when it's already here and it's this close to the tower. But it also typically offlaners are tankier, and a lot of them build vanguards. And in that case, it doesn't matter how many creeps you have hitting them; it just doesn't hurt. In this position, though, yeah, be careful about pulling in the good zone. Mez zone, it depends how tanky is your carry. And do you expect eventually you're gonna need the pull? Because if you pull too early, what can end up happening is first you stop harassing the enemy offlaner, right? Even if they're in the mez zone and you're stronger than them. And secondly, if you pull now, you won't be able to pull later. And that's why generally it's better to do the 15-second pull over the 45-second pull. Right? Okay, it's significantly better to pull the 15-second pull, because if you pull the 45-second pull, you won't be able to pull the next minute. You can only pull this every minute, right? And then this is every other minute, and that's the big difference. Sometimes it's hard to predict if that's good enough or not. So generally I would recommend that you look to pull every 15 seconds if it keeps getting pushed out like this. Okay, now that's just again, I think that was quite long, honestly, but that's like the rundown of like what happens, like how the pulls are supposed to go, how the lanes are supposed to go. And I think we can cap this off with just like a little custom lobby where we will pit like a safe laner and off laner together, and then we'll be pausing in between just so that you can stop and think about what we're doing, and we can all brainstorm about possible solutions. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, what's your question?
Can I still join, or I can only watch?
Already full right now.
Okay, then I'll watch only.
Yeah, so I'll be streaming this game, so we don't have bots. Let's just make it all pick public, Singapore manual. Okay, I think this is good. We're for
I could join, but
it's alright. I'll be streaming it.
it's okay. My mom told me to wash my mouth like hour.
Okay, I'm gonna be sharing the.
Oh, we're
Dota.
going.
Yeah, we're gonna go into the Dota again.
Do you want me to have some specific hero, or do we pick any common hero on the first?
I would just say don't pick the Timber Saws, don't pick the Undyings. Let's pick like classic supports and carries for all the lanes, not Broodmother,
Juggernaut.
not Timber.
That's all.
Jug School?
Hey, hell, can you do the... Oh,
Tuska, Viper,
that's not good.
Meepo.
Wait, I thought I'm gonna be the off. Am I gonna be the offlane?
Who is? It's gonna be Hells is gonna be the support, and then Ducky
Wait,
is
who's
gonna
the
be the offline.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. Okay, I think this is a reasonable thing. I think this is generally a reasonable picks throughout. So I'm just gonna make sure my audio is like super soft, so it only picks up the game sounds, right? All right. So here, like once the game starts, is there no start game yet? Like, is there a clock right now? Like how long before the game starts?
Yeah.
Now.
Okay, so before we even start the game, like as soon as we load in, I want you guys to pause.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
Okay. Pause again. Alright. So like after me telling you all of these things, like I want each of you to tell me like what are you thinking right now. So obviously we're gonna go bottom, right? Both of you go bottom. All
hmm.
four of you go bottom. Now, just tell me, like, what can you tell me about your heroes? What can you tell me about this lane? Make as many predictions as you can that you can actually back up, right? Okay.
Yeah. So instantly, what I'm thinking is, as the vengeful spirit here, I see ogre and jug, and I'm thinking level 1s and 2 are gonna be scary.
Okay.
So I want to be in a situation where, at the very least, I'm not gonna end up getting run down by a jug who is being supported by ogre slow and stun.
Okay. So, um, I think this could go either way. Okay. So, like, in terms of
Hmm.
expectations, it's 50-50. So, if you get anything over 50% of the lane, I would consider you have won that lane and won that lane enough. Now, Um, what can you tell me, Venge, about your hero relative to their support?
Okay, so we both have. Oh, I'm ranged, which means that I win. I have an advantage naturally in the harass war, though harassing him directly is going to be difficult because he has a high armor, high regen. Um, but it could be doable, and if I can keep him from whacking me with his club, I should win trades.
Okay, so that's important. If you can keep him from whacking you with your club, you can win trades. So, what items will you buy to help you keep with this idea?
So I was thinking of going for Blightstone, both keeping in with the like physical damage minus armor synergy of our lane, and also just to help get his armor down, make my harass more effective.
Okay, this you said that
Um,
if you can keep him from whacking you with his club, that he's going to
yeah,
you're
so
going
I
to
was
go with
also
it.
it was between Blightstone and Windlace, and I'm not sure if I should. And I can't get both, or else I don't have enough money for good regen stuff.
Okay,
So
so
I need to make a decision between those two.
what decision will you make for now?
I think ultimately I go with the Windlace because I am actually really scared of getting ignited into Fireball into spin.
Okay, that's good. I'm gonna
me
tell you this,
too.
right? Let's look at it. Ogre has 7 armor. How much armor do you have, Finch?
3.
All right. How much does a Blightstone remove?
Last one was 2, I think.
2 armor.
Yeah.
Right. So you're gonna remove 2 armor from the ogre, so he'll be 5 armor, 290 move speed, and he'll have 54 damage. You will have
Mhm.
3 armor and 47 damage. Slightly faster, but not significantly. And any
Right.
slow will more than nullify it. Right.
Mhm.
So this is what I'll be thinking: is, um, if you hit him with a Blightstone, is that enough to stop him from whacking you with your club, with his club?
No,
No, right?
that's not going to keep.
It's
That's
not
not
gonna
going to keep
keep.
him from
It's
hitting
not
me.
gonna keep him from hitting you. In fact, I would wager like something like a Windlace or Boots would be my consideration here. It really
Right.
depends how well you're able to keep your distance. Like Windlace, it means that you have to be able to move a bit quicker and respond a little faster. And Boots gives you more
Mm.
leeway to like dodge him.
Yeah, and considering my ping, I should probably just go the boots.
All right, that's fair. Now, Kazuhiro, I have a question for you. Um, so you know that Venge is ranged, you know you're not ranged, and you know if you hit her, you're gonna win, right? So what items let you hit her? Kazuhiro.
Um, I need a juice
Yeah, you could consider boots. Definitely,
or
I would
wind blaze.
definitely consider boots this lane. just because you want to catch them, right? Now let's look at the Jug. He got the magic stick, which I find okay. Before I say anything else, let's get to the course. Okay. Um, so Kazuhiro, what you want is you want to be able to hit this Venge, right? And then once you've hit the Venge enough, you're gonna be able to hit the Slardar. Okay. And that's the idea. You want to be able to zone out Venge, and then you can go hit Slardar together. Now, Drona, on your hand, what are you thinking about this lane? Tell me what
So
you think.
one thing I'm noticing is other than bench stun, everything else they do is physical. They have some minus armor as well.
Okay.
That's why I went for the ring of protection.
Ring of Protection.
I find that Vengeful Spirit typically tends to spam W a lot, and I'm hoping it comes in vision so that I'll get charges on my stick. I'm not really banking on Slardar stuns to give me stick charges.
Okay. So, I'm gonna say like one thing. I think your idea is fine, but I think the items that lead to it might not be as effective. What I would consider for you, right?
Hmm.
What if we get a Quelling Blade, 2 sets of tangos, um, slippers of agility, and 3 iron branches?
I'll have a lot of stats. I get about the same armor as well.
You'll get
I get
one
one less
armor
armor.
less,
Yeah,
one less armor. You'll have significantly higher damage.
yeah. It's 5 extra damage.
Yeah, that's in additionally to that, the thing is the stick. Usually, I like unless it's a lane that they'll be spamming a lot from level 1. So basically, Bristleback, Shadow Demon, stuff like this. I don't get stick at the start because typically, like the number of spells that they have at level 1 is 2 spells. The number of spells they'll have at level 2 is
So at least 3, at least 2 spells, at least 4 spells in total.
usually around 4 spells, right?
Uh,
So
in
that's
this game, probably
something.
Slardar doesn't have one, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe Slardar doesn't have one, but generally you can expect like 2 spells or 3 spells at level 2 compared to 1 spell or 2 spells at level 1. So when would it be more valuable to get the magic stick?
Zeus, Bristle, Shadow Demon,
Yeah,
these
no,
kind of things
but I
where they
mean
start out
in
spams.
in this lane,
Or later.
in this
Farmer's
lane,
Kit.
when would it be better to get the magic stick? At level
Probably
1?
level 2 or 3 maybe.
So what you could consider if you like a magic stick in the lane when they start spamming their spells, but they're not that spammy at level 1, which most heroes aren't. You could consider like sending a magic stick out immediately after the bounty gold. Right? Alright. Now for bounties, I'll just say yeah. I want the Radiant to just take the one in the river and then the Dire one to take the one in the triangle. Um yeah, okay. Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. It's gonna be like the Radiant take one in the river, the Dire take one in the triangle, and that's it. One rune each, and don't hit each other for it. Okay,
Why is there only 4 players?
because we're only focusing on online here.
Oh,
Okay, so Slardar, what can you tell me about your lane?
yeah.
I take Slaughter as like a counter to Jug because he can
Okay.
pierce through his immunity. I've been playing a lot of Jug, so I know what can fuck
Nah,
him,
y'all
which
What me?
is not be able to spin. And I think me stunning Jug is like my main priority right now. Like to just not avoid. There's a current balance with Jug of stunning him and zoning him out and just avoiding his spinning. So
What about
about
in terms of lane position, guys? What can you tell me? Where is it good to have the lane for for both teams? Radiant, where do you want the lane to be?
Right near the tower, so Slardar can chase me
Right near
down.
the
He has a
tower. Okay. And for Dire, where do you want the lane to be? Ideally,
As close to river as we can get it.
yeah,
as close to your tower, like the car. Like more importantly, as far from their tower.
Yeah.
I didn't order that today. That was yesterday.
think Wench can win Ogre.
Get it. Well then.
I'm actually torn with choosing what skill I'm gonna go for level 1.
I'm sorry?
I'm actually a bit confused in what skill I should skill up in level 1.
For Slardar?
Yeah, because
Okay.
one, I want to take it easy so I can harass the jug.
Okay.
That's my job, and I want to take the W because I've been seeing a lot of slaughters just take the W, and I think
Okay.
it's a
This
much
is my
more.
question for you. E is most effective when you are hitting him, right? A bunch of times.
Yeah,
Right? Where is the creep wave going to be? At the very first level.
inches away from the turret range. From their
Inches away
turret
from their tower. How many
Yeah.
times will you be able to hit Jug when he's inches away from his tower?
when he's going for the creeps.
Right? Basically, what my idea is here is at level 1, your Slithering Crush is significantly better because not only does it let you secure creeps, it lets you harass him while you're both standing in the lane. Another time I would consider Bash of the Deep is for whatever reason, you prioritize your own farm over his. And you're like, I want to make sure I get the creep every time with my Bash of the Deep. But generally, I will say probably you want your stun. Because as strong as Slardar is, you can't dive people under tower at level 1. And if you want to hit them 4 times in a row, you're probably only going to be able to do that under tower. So I think Slithering Crush is probably better at level 1. Alright, so that being said, you guys probably want to sell your items if you think you need to change anything, and then get whatever it is that you want. I think you still have time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you guys can unpause, fix your items, and then start heading towards lane. Ready? Go on, pause.
One.
Freaking go for it, baby.
Okay. Drone up, by the way, this is something I always push for carries. Like, I think the best item build you could have gone for is Quelling Blade, 2 sets of tangos, slippers, and 3 branches. But yeah.
An extra set of tangles would have made a difference.
And you'd have just as much stats, and more like 9 tangos really because of the double regen effect or the ability to turn it into a stick. Registry, I think it's the best way to go right now.
I
So
typically
guys-
fly out a second set of region after I get a few last hits. Sort of.
Yeah, but then that means that you can't get that stick that you planned on getting earlier.
Hmm.
Alright, it all adds up in trades. Oh, by the way, guys, don't fight for the first rune, please. Just pick up the one rune in your. Yeah, you guys can pick up the river rune, and Drona and Ducky can do whatever they want right now. Yeah,
Ready.
just pick up the rune. Nobody's gonna fight you for your runes. Just go. So yeah, like what you want to do and where the lane will start out also influences like what items or spells you get at level 1.
I was so something that you wouldn't typically see. We kind of blocked the creep wave. We didn't do too much. Okay.
It's actually better for the Radiant. I'll just say that. I think in Radiant safe lane, the tower is way too close. See, because now, yeah. Can you guys pause for a second? Okay. I just want to say that generally, the Radiant safe lane is actually like the creeps spawn a little too close to the Radiant safe lane, because it basically means that if the Radiant carry is not careful, his creeps are gonna get hit by the tower, and this lane is gonna shove in by a lot, which already happened, in spite of you guys blocking it. In fact, if Radiant blocks even a little bit, and Dire doesn't block at all, it's going to go under tower, which means Drona can get level 2 early, but it also means that the opponent team will also have the creep wave shoved onto their tower because they have 2 creep waves basically. So I just want you to be aware of that, especially on in this specific part. It's a little bit better for for the Dire safe lane actually, where the creeps meet. And what the block did is it actually just made it so that you gave the Radiant an easier time. I think the creeps are still gonna push in, but I just want you guys to be aware of that. Okay, you can unpause.
Okay.
I'll just note something that I think you guys are like taking my lane positioning really seriously, and so it's resulting in these really messed up lanes because both of you are trying to like outwit the other team. So what is
Denied.
okay? Another quick pause. Where is the lane right now, guys?
Bad.
Bad, right?
Bad.
It's really bad for Radiant. It's really good for Dire, right? So what do we do about this, guys? What can we do about this?
You pull.
Hmm?
You pull.
Pull?
Yeah, we pull. For Radiant, it's gonna be a pull, and Hizak, for now, I want you to just stay in lane. Let's just assume that you don't know they're gonna pull. All right. And then you.
Oh, who,
can,
me?
You, can, yeah,
You want me? You want me to stay in lane?
Yeah, don't contest the ogre's pull.
All right.
Just assume you don't know
Okay.
what you're doing.
I was going to do it originally, but yeah. Okay. I won't do anything.
Okay. So ogre, go contest the pull. Ogre,
Yeah.
go pull at 45 seconds.
I'm not sure if you saw in the lane originally, but the moment we started getting into this state, I moved over to check. Oh, is he going over to the camp?
Yep. Okay, so Kazuhiro, go pull, and Hizak, pretend you don't know he's pulling. So unpause.
Yeah.
You guys can unpause.
Okay.
I'm hoping to get through like every state of like pulls and lane equilibrium, so you guys can see.
Wait.
Okay. I just want to pause something right now, real quick. One more.
Pause?
Time.
Should I pause?
No, never mind. Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, you see, Ogre has just went and pulled, right? And Jug is alone here. That means Jug is alone here, 2v1. And the Jug was able to get 2 last hits on you, Venge.
Yep.
Remember the idea that investment, right, of resources. So in this like localized sphere of the lane where it's just the 3 of you, Jug is 2v1ing you.
Gotcha.
And he was able to get like 2 last hits. On
Gotcha.
Victor's lane. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you can unpause again. And you notice, Ducky, you haven't hit this Jug at all, and he's in the bad part, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm sorry for that.
no, it's not. You don't need to apologize. I'm just trying to show you guys something. So if Drona's smart, he's not going to get into a position where nice. That was nice by Drona. So again, this is another example where it's a 2v1 and Drona was able to get the last hit that he maybe shouldn't have had a right to get. Okay. Pause real quick. So, I know these pauses can get jarring, but I kind of want to bring it about, like bring out the ideas here. So you notice there are 4 creeps and there are 3 creeps. Normally I would say this would mean that it's gonna push in for Radiant, but because Venge used her Wave of Terror and the creep wave, and Slaughter damage the creep wave, I think it's gonna be like staying in the same place. So it's gonna depend on what both heroes do to affect the lane. Right?
Okay.
So unpause.
Face it, you're a loser.
Slaughter? Slaughter?
Slider.
Slaughter! Wait guys, pause, this isn't what you need to do. Slaughter!
Like how Ogre just went and hit him with the club.
Alright, I'm back. Sorry.
Please don't leave.
please don't leave mid game. Okay.
Okay, I'll continue.
Okay. Can we pause again real quick? I'm sorry. Okay. So this is what I mean. Okay. Like you notice like Ogre was in the insane part of the map where it's like hyper aggressive, like on the opposite side of the creep wave, relative to Scary, and trying to zone both of you out. And look what happened to the Ogre. He lost a shit ton of HP. Because both of you guys got caught by the spin, it kind of works out, and because Ogre has a salve, he'll be fine, right? But generally, Ogre should have been punished for like being there, and I think the trade was just a little too effective for the Radiant team. But
Yeah, I was in the background. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I can't position properly at all at this ping.
It's alright. I just want you guys to be aware. Like I'm pointing out like these things that we discussed in the theory part, and now it's coming like to fruition here. So you guys can pause. And then after this, if you guys are still free, like I think we could do one where it's gonna be like no pauses, and then you guys can discuss your ideas. Ogre, do you really want to be pulling here? Well, I guess it's gonna shove in. Right?
Wait, back up.
Right? It's still in the good spot for Ogre, so you guys don't need to pull necessarily. But Ogre, you need to do something. Like Jug is 1v2ing them.
I should not have gone back in most likely.
Yes, absolutely not.
No, back up.
Okay. Pause while Jug is dead again. Alright, so this is a scenario, this is kind of weird because yes, Jug died, which is bad, but he's gonna come back into this lane with full HP and full mana. And I noticed that Helzek and Ducky both don't have any salves. Ducky doesn't even have tangos anymore. So there is going to be an opening here for Radiant to come back in. Because Ogre, yes, he's low on mana, but he still has decent health. And when the Jug comes back, he's gonna be full HP, full mana. So I see, there's no salve coming in. So this is just something I want you guys to be aware of. Where like technically you just killed, and technically you should be stronger, but because you guys don't have HP, like when Jug comes in, you guys are gonna play defensive, which you're gonna see in a moment. Also, Kazuhiro, you need to be more in the front line. The Jug is 2v1ing a lot of the time. So anyway, you guys can continue.
Okay.
Because like what this Venge is gonna decide is either go home or yeah. So like Drona, you have a massive creep wave. Can Slaughter trade with you, right? Oh, you missed the last
No.
one.
Oh, dude, I just.
Yeah. So you have a massive creep wave. This Slaughter cannot trade with you. Like you can spin on him if he hits you, right? Like typically this would be bad for you, but because you have so many creeps, because you have so much HP, it's fine. You're missing more last hits.
Oh shit.
Okay. So this is an example of me telling you guys you were weak. You don't need to pause. There's nothing gonna happen anyway. Like this is me telling you guys you're weak, and then Slaughter playing like he's strong anyway. And this is what happens. He ends up dying for it. Like the proper play would have been to just back the fuck up and not. He's gonna miss last hits, which is like his punishment for not buying enough regen. And so this happens in a lot of lanes, right? Like you kill and then suddenly the enemy hero comes back with full HP, full mana, and then you end up getting punished for it. So just want you to be aware of that.
Dire's top tower
Okay,
is
so what
being
Drona's doing,
attacked.
he's holding the creeper. Drona, you can run left and right a little bit to reduce like the damage you take from the melee creeps.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
So the ogre was able to. That was an example of the ogre being able to push the bench
Radiant's
out of
middle
lane
tower is
so much that she became the useless category, and the ogre.
Oh, oh, it's gonna die.
Ogre. Okay. Let's pause again after this. Pause. Okay. So you notice like the ogre was able, right? He was able to push you up into the useless
Yeah.
territory, and because of that,
Yeah,
the ogre
absolutely.
and the jug converged on Ducky. So there was misexecution in that the ogre didn't back up and continued to chase, but it was still really good for.
Yeah,
it was still really
if they hadn't gotten so grief to finish it,
yeah,
like they would have just had a great trade.
yeah, and then they could have backed up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is like the tug of war, the sumo match. I was telling you guys about. So continue. So like Kazuhiro, you should have been happy to bring the Slardar down to this much HP, force him to salve, and that was it. Right? That would have been it. You don't need to kill him like every time. Right? You could harass him low and then kill him next time if he doesn't play safe. Okay, so Drona, your support is dead. What can you do?
I can pull actually. Yeah. I'm
It's
gonna be
already
late.
too late. Yeah. So you need to
15
try
and
to
14.
recognize this a little earlier. So, you guys want to pause and talk about that moment? Okay, so what happened here? Well, first.
Well, let's not talk.
Bench went
supports
right
were-
away.
Supports were, diddling in the jungle, and something happened in lane.
Okay,
Yeah, we
so
don't need to talk about it.
we do need to talk about it. So first off, I just noticed Drona's level 6, Slara is level 4. So how did this happen? It was a couple of good pulls by Kazuhiro.
A lot of time spent out of the lane by the ogre, and not as much time spent out of the lane by me.
Yeah, and Kazuhiro was able to get off good pulls, and he's been blocking your camp since like minute 0. And so you haven't been able to rectify the lane in your favor.
Oh shit! Wait, I haven't even. Well, I haven't noticed that, but also did my ward fail to get in the? I guess it failed to get in the box.
I don't know. We'll see. But anyway,
I have a ward inside of that's supposed to be inside of their box, but maybe it failed to get in there.
okay, it's all right. Also, Slardar, if you're alone next to this jug, and there's no creeps with you, you expect that he's gonna ulti you, right? A good
I
juggle,
didn't
no one-
notice that he was level 6 already.
So that's the lesson you learned from that.
We don't
Yeah.
need to talk.
You guys can unpause, cause like Helzek is like slightly above higher level. No, he's actually significantly higher level than the ogre. So it's a couple of pulls plus Helzek sapping
Dire's
too
bottom
much
tower
XP.
is being attacked.
This is more.
And so you're now in the weird position where, technically speaking, Slardar is supposed to counter Jug and Lane.
Radiant's top tower is being
Drona, I would have tanked that stun by the way, because there was nothing following it. Like, it
I mean,
would've been-
Stada was coming back up. That's what I was afraid of.
He was too far away.
Radiant's
okay.
top tower is under
But
siege.
again, this is like experience thing, right? Like, what's gonna follow? Kazuhiro, don't AFK. go do something. You have full mana, full HP. You don't have creeps to pull, so what can you do?
Read.
Ogre, you still have your W, remember that? And the salve. You have a salve, Ogre. Salve up. Then go through. Yeah, you can.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
How do you? Oh, I lagged out.
Stay away from him.
Dire's middle tower is under siege.
So like the longer the lane goes, like the further from theory things devolve out of. Like right now there's a double
Dire's
creep
top
wave
tower is under
coming in
siege.
for Jonah. So probably what he does not want to do is trade with Slardar right now because he's gonna take twice as much damage from the creeps. So he chooses to spend the wave. So in fact what he's gonna do now, he just shoved the wave in. Which I
Radiant's
think is a
middle
bit of an
tower is under
overreaction,
siege.
honestly. I would have
I
probably
guess-
just right-clicked some of the creeps down, but shoving the entire wave. Look how this feels for you right now, Jonah.
Nothing to do.
Yep. You can still go there, by the way. Like at least get the XP from the creeps dying.
There's no creeps that are gonna die from 1 or 2 creeps.
Come on.
Ogre Stardust coming.
Ducky got greedy there.
Yeah, I got greedy.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, I live.
Can we pause and just dissect what's going on right now?
I'm just gonna run back to base.
I screwed up. That's what happened.
Yeah. Can we pause real quick and let's just talk about what's happening? Okay. So this is more or less what happened. Kazuhiro fed like how many times? 3 times, right? Unnecessarily. So this is where the Venge and the Slardar are both level 6, right? But because of that trade where Jug seems to be surviving every time and getting the kills, he gets all the XP, and that's why he's level 8 right now. And he's significantly stronger than the Slardar. Now, I ask you, like it's 10 minutes into the game, right? The laning stage should probably be over. Now, my next question is, what is Jug's goal? Like you were counterpicked against the Slardar, and somehow you come up with more farm and more levels than the Slardar. What is your goal right now?
I'm actually thinking of bringing out clarities and probably buying a ring and just spinning the wave and going to jungle.
Yes, but your goal because your goal is not to shut down the Slardar, who's already level 6, and it wasn't your job to shut him down. Technically, if the opponents played their lane really well, all you would have wanted is to get some farm and then leave. But since you managed to get all the farm and leave, then that means you can do whatever you're gonna do more efficiently earlier. So in this case, it would be to shove the lane, deny the creeps that you can, but mostly just shove the lane, and then jungle. Because right now you can jungle just as fast as you can lane, because you've gotten to this point. Alright?
Okay.
So, on the other hand, what Slardar and Venge can do, if they're good, is they're gonna try to fuck with you. They're gonna try to mess with you in the jungle, or they're gonna try to punish you being gone by taking your tower. And your job will be to also pay attention to the tower, keep it alive if you can. And if not, then ask for a teammate to rotate. But in this case, you have no teammates. So, yeah, this is where the simulation starts breaking down. Because at this point, rotations can be a thing, right? But yeah, you guys can unpause. Let's just see. Let's keep this running for another minute or two. Let's just see if you guys are able to do anything
Radiant's
to
middle
this
tower
Juggernaut to
is
slow him
being
down.
attacked.
Because at this point, I would consider this like an abject failure, and Darius part. I'm sorry, but it's quite true. Like,
Radiant's
the
middle
counter
tower
picks
is
were
under
there,
siege.
and
Oh, thank you.
the lane composition was supposed to be in your favor. But
Ah, got it.
Tower is under attack.
so Drona, you can't lane. So what can you do?
And on a good angle.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
The only thing I'm worried about is
I
this
hope that's
thing.
part of your plan.
The haze is on info. Yeah.
Remember, you can spin in the jungle and get rid of
Oh.
it. In the jungle.
Oh.
In
Yeah,
the
yeah.
jungle.
Instant reactions.
So Ogre pulled the lane. Venge.
Okay, people are coming.
Dire's middle tower is being attacked.
This is bad for you guys, by the way.
Radiant's middle tower is being
Nice.
attacked.
Instant reaction, good trade. This is where you back off.
Yep.
Pat yourself in the back for a good trade and continue doing whatever it is you want to do. So at this point, what I'm looking at is how much farm can Drona get by, say, 15 minutes. If you're able to shut them down at all. So Drona, I'll be judging you by the farm you get. And Ducky, I'll be judging you by the amount of farm the jug does or doesn't get.
I actually want to buy an item. Okay, yeah, I can buy now.
You're missing last hits.
Yeah, I wanted to buy an item, but the lane is so
Dire's
much
middle
in.
tower is under attack. If that's
Shouldn't the
something
supports
you
leave
can
the lane
do.
at this point because it's already 10 minutes?
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying that the simulation kind of breaks down. But I want to see what you guys do about this, and how effectively are you actually shoving lanes, and how effectively is Jug ignoring you?
Oh no!
Yeah, that was a terrible one, Slash.
I had such plans.
Bro.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Not that I care one way or the other.
Not good, it's not good.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Back off, back off.
If Ogre had a slower stun available, it would be good. Okay, so Drona, what I'm seeing right now is the Slardar is slowly catching up to you.
Yeah, because I've not been hitting creeps for long,
You have
for
not
quite some
been
time.
hitting, yeah. Usually at this point, like the support doesn't want to block the hard camp because the carry wants to shove the lane and then go to the jungle. Either that or just leave lane entirely. And in that case, we'll have to end the simulation here. But I think Drona's in a position to do okay either way. So, Helzak, I remember,
Wow.
like this camp, the hard camp is blocked, so you know there's a sentry there.
I didn't see that the camp was blocked.
You should see the camp is blocked. This is a very important consideration for his support. Yeah, you,
I'm so confused.
Ogre cat.
So now the gap is widening slightly, but again, it's 14 minutes of your battle fury still. Yeah, always away. It can be okay if you're having a really hard game.
I'm gonna swap him.
Ah,
Really nice play, my dude.
ah.
Really nice play, my dude. And we're back to the example where being far away from your tower in this kind of a lane is dangerous, especially early
Dire's
on.
top tower is being attacked.
So again, just pause. Jonah, what I would do, okay, like I said, you can jungle. Let's just look at like some facts here. We said that your priority is to get farm, right? And I already told you, in my experience, a juggernaut with this many items can jungle just as quickly as he can lane, right? And the only other consideration you have is that your tower doesn't die as much as possible. If you're losing the lane really hard, that's not possible. So what could you have done when the lane was shoved up all the way there, that would have resulted in you getting farm and not dying.
I am not in the lane near the lane. Ogre will be gone on and he'll probably be killed by Venge and Slada.
That's Ogre's problem, and that's Ogre's fault.
Okay.
What
I
we're
mean, if
talking
that
about
happens, they
three.
probably take my tower as well.
What?
If I'm worried if that happens, they probably take my tower as well.
Yeah, okay. So, what you can do, right, is you can shove the lane if it comes near your tower. If it's not near your tower and they have a threat of killing you, then just jungle, right? Because you can jungle just as fast as you can lane right now.
Yep.
Obviously, laning and then jungling is more efficient, but in this case, you can see why that's not always possible, right? If Kazuhiro dies, that's his fault. I will tell my support, stay under tower, get XP, defend it if you can. And if you need to come back to defend the tower, then defend the tower. But again, the lane was shoved out. You did not need to be there. You did not need to defend the tower that was not even remotely in danger.
Yep.
Alright, continue.
Dire's top tower is under siege.
Alright, good. You guys didn't block your camps. Good job. Kazuhiro could have gotten maybe one last time.
Ooh, do you need us?
Oh, I'll take it.
Dire's middle tower is under siege.
That's really nice.
That's juicy. Wait, that's not. Big wave.
Dire's middle tower is being attacked.
Because this.
Dire's
Let's
middle
keep
tower
this
is
going
under
for like
siege.
17 minutes and then I'll call a winner at the end of it.
Wait, don't.
Ah, shit, I...
Jump,
late
look
anyway.
at the lane. Is it
Dire's
shoved
middle
out?
tower is under siege.
It's gonna push in now. I mean, it's gonna meet at the middle now.
You know what?
So you can start hitting those creeps. Right? You can even aggro them to you, so they're closer to your tower.
Venge, go.
Again,
Farm.
this is a part where I wouldn't consider spinning because it's like, okay, you threw a spell, so what? They go up. Again,
Let him die. Nether.
Oh, you want? You...
Wait. Get your nether ready.
so
Got it,
Kazuhiro is just happy here. 2 heroes versus a lowly pulse fight. You just get some XP and not die. Right? And Drona's happy to just jungle to get his farm. So right now, I would say this is generally good for Radiant.
And it's 17 minutes in.
At 17 minutes. Okay, we can pause the game now. I think we can call it. Okay, so for a couple of factors here that determine like what I think should have happened. So it was a Jug versus a Slardar, which Slardar is a classic counter to Jug for reasons that you saw just now. Like you killed the Jug really easily, really quickly, right? But I will say that even despite that, Jug is still like 600 gold ahead of Slardar, right? Which I would say is a disaster because you picked a core Slardar specifically to counter this Jug, and you told me as much when you picked your hero, right?
Yeah.
So now so with that, like I would expect that you at the very least would have gotten more farm than Jug, and probably like if you play this right, you could have gotten like 2,000 or at least 1,500 gold ahead of the Jug. So it was kind of a disaster for the Jug in some ways, but in other ways, because he already got that lead. Like technically from the start of the game, he shouldn't have had that lead, but he had that lead, and then he's dying a couple of times that he didn't need to die in, and that's his mistake. But Like if we're just looking at it from the minute zero, I would say that Radiant won, and even now I would still say Radiant won because Slardar cannot catch up in farm as quickly as a Jug can.
Mhm.
And this is a lot of investment by the pause 4 that I would realistically not see happening. Because most likely
Yeah.
the pause 4 is going to be ganking another lane.
Yeah.
So what went wrong here? Let's talk about it. Okay, what went wrong for both sides? Well, first off, Kazuhiro, you need to be more aggressive. Like you are just sitting in the useless territory so often, and then it's either with you, it's either you're in the useless territory, you're in the batshit insane territory. On the opposite side, you're never really on the side. When you are, it actually works out quite well for you. Like when you went for the Slardar, but then you dove too hard, right? Your pulls were generally good, but sometimes I see you AFKing in the jungle, not doing anything at all. And then the jug is 1v2ing. And that's like the worst scenario. Like it's so you need to be more aggressive. You need to be more in lane. Now, for the Radiant side, Helzak, the fact that you don't know your hard cap was being blocked so often, right? Remember, like we had an idea here. Like you want it to be in the bad part for them. So Slardar can bounce and hit them over and over again. And how do you keep it there? Generally, by pulling,
With 3 pulls.
right?
Yes.
But the fact that it didn't cross your mind at all is like really what screwed this lane over. There was like misexecution by Slardar, to be sure. But the biggest
Right.
reason here is the pulls. The next thing is that oftentimes, like I said, the ogre left the jug alone 1v2 for no reason, or every time he pulled, he would do that. And you guys saw the jug 1v2 and you guys did nothing to him.
Mm.
Those were the two reasons that like really contributed to your mistake. Notice I didn't say anything about your spell usage being great or amazing or anything like that. I'm just talking about where you're standing. I'm just talking about what generally you're
right.
doing. And
Yeah, exactly.
this,
I understand.
This is what punishes the players. So I think we can conclude this game. If you want, we can do one more. But this one without pauses, or without as many pauses at least. But I think we can DC from this. 'Cause
If someone else would like to take my spot, they can.
Yeah, same
This was great, and I learned a lot from it. But there's a lot of lag, and I need to get a new headphones. These headphones, something broke on them, and they're just not sitting on my head right anymore.
All right.
It's big. It's a real distraction.
Okay. Sure. Does anyone
But
want
what's
to do
the
it
password?
still?
Great.
We need 4 people to do it if we're gonna do it.
I
I'll be
remember
playing only
someone-
if I'm not if there's not 4 people. The 4 people let them play.
Why won't we just do a full unranked game then? If we have 5 people.
We're not. We're still recording and we're still doing a coaching class right now, so I do need 4 people for this.
Can I join?
No.
Paradise?
No.
Why?
You know why?
Uh,
Ice Rod, Drona, Lex, Handjobs, Kazuhiro, any of you guys want to join?
I'm open to joining if there's not 4 people. So like, if I'm the 4th person.
Okay. What about the rest of you?
I'm still
Then
down
join the
for one.
lobby. I'm sharing it now on DFC.
I'm
Drona,
still
I think
in the
you're gonna have to
lobby.
join. We don't really have that many people right now.
Paradise, I have one question.
What's up?
Like in this matchup, yeah, Dudwala here, by the way. Yeah, so in this matchup, if the dire side gets the creep equilibrium near them, and then like sometimes what happens is like you have like a Dazzle versus Crystal Maiden matchup, like Dazzle on the dire side, Crystal Maiden on the other side. So I've felt that Stardar, since he's not really a good tower taker, he just statics the lane over there, and then you never get farm. So what do you recommend in that scenario?
Pulls.
Because see, if Crystal Maiden tries to pull, a Dazzle can just trade better and just kill him one on one.
Okay, so in that case, if the jug is like basically he can't approach the lane for last hits, right?
Yes.
So he's basically doing nothing, right?
It's taking XP. Taking
He's
XP. That's the
taking
only
some
thing.
XP, but he's basically doing not much, if anything. He's not.
True.
And the creeps aren't dying that fast because you said Slaughter is staticking the lane, right?
Yes, correct.
And
That is
you
correct.
said Dazzle beats Crystal Maiden in a 1v1 trade, right?
Yes.
Who does this
Yes.
Dazzle not beat in a trade?
I think you're alluding to like Jug plus Crystal Maiden,
Yes.
but I just feel that in that situation, what will happen is Slardar can walk over, and then what do you do?
Okay. Well, it's going to be
Because
like
most likely, since you have kept it like there, like it's not really going to instantly push out, and like the creep equilibrium won't be lost even if Slardar needs to walk because Slardar has his Q.
okay. So the general idea is if it's shoved so far out that Jug can't do anything about it, the
Huh.
Slardar is going to the Slardar is going to want to stay there and get last hits. If the
Okay.
Jug and this Crystal Maiden are there on the Dazzle, and Slardar isn't there
Huh.
instantly, it's going to be
Yes.
a matter of like seconds before this Dazzle dies, because Crystal Maiden has two
Okay.
really powerful nukes, and you will run down this Dazzle who
Okay.
has no defensive mechanism against it. If the Slardar eventually
Fair.
makes it and it forces the Jug and Crystal Maiden to back off, generally he won't. He won't be able to affect it fast enough that the Crystal Maiden and the Dazzle, the Jug and the Crystal Maiden will have to back off before Dazzle dies. But let's say we do that, Dazzle has no HP, and Crystal Maiden and Jug will 2v1 the Slardar. That's generally the trade-off there. If you're staticking the lane so far up that the carry can't, can't contest, then the Slardar is also so far away from the small camp that Jug and Crystal Maiden can gang up on him. Do we not have any other students that want to join this one? No?
I'll join up.
Alright, join up now.
Shadow again.
Yeah, so Jonah, join. Lex, what do you Lex, what do you normally play? What role?
I usually play carry, but I can go support.
Okay, in this case, Cuckoo Palad is who again? Who's Cuckoo?
Sorry?
In the lobby, who's Cuckoo Palad?
Not
Me.
not-
Kuro. Yes, sir.
Kuro, you need to move off the team, man. It's not going to be fair this way.
Huh? What do you mean, team? I'm just the coach.
Wait, which name are you?
Mira.
So who's Cuckoo Palad?
Kazuhiro.
Okay, so
Me.
okay, that's fine. Jonah, you join Radiant, and then Lex, you can join. Oh wait, actually no. Jonah, you join Dire. Lex, you can join Radiant. Jonah, you'll be offlane, and this time I want the carries to have the last. I want the Dire to pick first, and I want the Radiant to be able to counter. So basically, Kazuhiro picks, then Ducky and Jonah, and then Cuckoo picks. Then Lex picks last. Okay. So I want to give Lex like a good counter pick lane, and we can analyze from there. Okay. I'll pick Singapore, no cheats. Okay, let's go.
Right, we can pick any hero, right?
Pick conventional heroes, so you don't go crazy in the picks. I recommend staying away from Undying. I recommend staying away from Broodmother and all of those cheese heroes that could just stomp the lane, because that doesn't gonna teach you much. And the ultimate point of this is to teach you something. So
I'm gonna be the position 3, or am I the
I'm gonna be
4?
offlaner.
Yep.
Oh wait.
Oh, I'm the off.
Wait, handjobs, you wanna offlane?
Yeah, I'm okay supporting as well.
Okay, then Drona will support.
Well,
So again,
I have an idea.
Kazuhiro, pick your hero now. Okay, Crystal Maiden. Drona and Ducky, you pick. And
Yeah,
then you give Lex last pick. So we're simulating like a captain's mode-ish.
Surprise, surprise.
Ducky, pick your hero, man.
Oh.
If I come back with a 14 level Wind Ranger.
10 seconds to go.
I don't know anything about drafting. Anti-mage seems good, I guess.
Against Laura? Actually, no. That's a dog shit. Quick counters. Lex, you're breathing into your mic like really loud.
Sorry.
I would say something like Troll, Ursa,
Ember?
Monkey
10
King.
seconds
Would be
to
good.
go.
Terror Blade is okay. Do you play Monkey King or did you just pick it now?
I just picked it.
Okay.
Dude, I thought your name is Fear the Trees. I thought you do play Monkey.
Okay, this is gonna be an issue, but let's see how it goes. Because again, I'd not really focus too much on the spell usage, unless it's like so atrocious that you might as well have not gotten any spells. But generally, we'll talk about this. Okay, so what can you guys tell me about your lanes? Joanna, why don't you start since some of them.
So one point is if I get caught either by CM's low or CM's root, I'm probably dead if Monkey has Jingo, which is probably is gonna take.
Okay.
So I'm looking for move speed to not get caught.
Looking for move speed to not get caught. One thing though is you can look at the CM. CM has 48 plus 2 damage right now. You have 48 damage. And the thing is, you do have Windrun. So in this case, I would actually seriously consider building trading items on your so you can trade with the CM because you have naturally a better right click animation. You have naturally longer range, right? And I think you even without boots, even without boots, you actually outmove the CM. So I would seriously consider just getting items to trade with this guy, because like your spells don't trade with him that well. Your right clicks do. So I think if you can out execute Kazuhiro, you can win this. You can push him out in the standard pushing match instead of like dodging the CM. All right. If you overextend, then yeah, you will die. But I think you can actually like positively affect your lane just by harassing the Monkey King after shoving the CM out of lane. So this is a scenario where I think boots is you can make it work if you play a certain way, but I think there might be a better way to do this. Now for Ducky, like looking at your lane, Monkey King moves okay. Honestly, like it just really depends how many creeps are where, and like who's picking on who at the time. So, shall we get started?
It's gonna be annoying, but okay.
Shall we get started? And pause.
Yo, that's sure.
What? Wait, where are we going? Okay.
Bottom.
Here, sir.
You're laning bottom lane. It's safe lane versus off lane. Right? So this is where you can consider Blights. Yeah, you can get Blightstone, you can get I think this is a very respectable build. You essentially have 5 tangos and a salve and minus armor, and you're just gonna Lex, there's like some really noisy shit going on in the background.
One thing to speak about is Monkey King has naturally decent armor being an agility hero. So Blightstone is not gonna do much there. So one thing.
Yeah, maybe not on its own, but it will still help, just like the Venge. Right? Like Jug had naturally high armor in the last
Slata, you can go to lane if you want, but I'll take it.
Yeah. Just take this one rune here and just take the river rune and the triangle rune for the Dire. So yeah. You had high armor as a Jug, and you even built phase boots, and it still wasn't enough for that much minus armor. You have less in this lane, but it's still I wouldn't rush it off like just because of your double physical damage. If you were something like a Willow or something, then maybe a Blightstone wouldn't be that effective because you don't trade right clicks as much. Right? And Kazuhiro, by the way, what this Fairy Fire tells me is that you're looking to trade right clicks with this Wind Ranger, which I generally don't agree with. Because again, she has a better animation, she can make you miss your right clicks and everything, and you're going to suffer for it. So watch this. Like, Drona will win this trade. And CM runs away. So now you can consider boots, like immediately after, so that the CM can't kite you. I did promise that this game would have less pauses in it, so Yeah, so see, the only way CM wins trades is by quitting. Right? So, Drona, you notice CM is in the useless position. So, what does this allow you to do?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Now she's back in the defensive position. So you can't you don't have the access to Monkey King you normally would. No. Then you were in the useless position for a second, and you saw what they did to
And
your.
not creep on me.
Yep. That wind run was kind of a waste. Kazuhiro and Drone are at it again. Ducky, there's a massive creep wave. You do not want to trade with this Monkey King.
Yeah, I do not trade with him either way.
So now Kazuhiro is in the completely not in the lane position. So what should you guys be doing about it? Right.
Yeah, and I'm still focusing on managing speed.
You can focus on last hits right now. Honestly, just get your last hits. Sorry. Real quick pause. So this is where we're thinking for our opponent. So Drona, you know that this is a bad position for Monkey to be in, right?
Yeah.
You know that Kazuhiro has not been in lane for a while.
Mm.
What do you think he is doing at around this time?
He's pulling at this. I know he's pulling at this point. I actually wanted to block the camp earlier, but the creeps came on me, so I couldn't go and block.
Okay. So what should you do about this right now?
Yeah, I'm going on my way there. I just wanted to get the creeps off.
Yep.
Creeps kinda going for me this
So
time.
this is a scenario where like the creeps, since he's pulling, and the creeps are shoved into your tower, you can't pull the hard camp. Right? So definitely the way to go would be to contest this ball. Yeah, this is what I want you guys to know. Like sometimes if you ever play with me, I'll tell you they're going to be pulling. If they're smart, they're gonna be pulling. If they're not smart, then we have nothing to worry about because they're not smart. Okay, he can unpause.
Dumb.
Hey, dumb boy.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Enemy's middle tower is under siege.
Slaughter, I missed that last time. Okay. So what can you guys tell me about the creep equilibrium right now? Where is it going? Rona, why did you run?
Because shouldn't have done.
Right? You just activated your wind run. She should be running from you. She can't hit you at all, and she's already used her spell. Okay.
I can't trade with this.
Fine. Got it. Oh.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. I know. I don't care either.
Okay, so I just want to point out there's an interesting dynamic here because Monkey King is significantly better in lane against Slardar than Juggernaut was. Even when it's in the bad position, you see, like you guys aren't actually like the Radiant isn't actually that disadvantaged. And I think a big part of it is there's just more creeps on Radiant right now. You don't feel good trading with them because every time you do, you're gonna lose. Just like this was happening to Slardar.
Starter. How are you doing otherwise?
So again, both of you are in defensive. CM is now in useless. Monkey is also in useless. So just note your positioning on the map, right? It all matters. And Drona blocked his own camp.
It's already blocked, I think.
Yeah, it's already blocked. But just a small note, if you're gonna be blocking camps, you really don't, you know that the good opponent is going to put sentries to find your blocking sentry, and there's a good chance if you put a ward near it, you're going to give away the ward too. So don't do that. Same concept to the Sand King lane or against the Zeus. like you expect that they're going to have a lot of like, true sight, and so you probably don't want to do it. So Drona, you're in the aggressive position, and you got punished by it. You see? Because maybe you didn't earn the right to be there. Because you kind of just walked into there while you didn't know where CM was, and you didn't bully her enough to, you know, earn your right there. So now the lane is split. So if either team had a good combo, it's completely like not a thing. I noticed that you're all blocking camps. So it's
God.
Alright, now I want you guys to not, like I want you both to deward your wards. Deward the blocking wards and don't block the camp anymore, okay? You're not allowed to block the opponent's camp.
Radiant's
Okay?
middle tower is under attack. So there's that.
You're not allowed to block the opponent's camp anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, Kazuhiro's dewarding for you. Okay. I was gonna say Drona should at least spend 100 gold.
I already have sentries on my courier.
Okay, I dropped those on the ground. You dirty boy. That's cheating. Yeah. CM, don't block his camp, please. I want you guys to see like pull dynamics without block caps. So you notice, like after this laning class, you guys are putting so much emphasis on being able to pull creep waves, which is normally not the case. So if you guys are even able to remember that much, you're gonna learn a lot. Right? Again, Drona, look, because the hero is missing from the map, so you know what he's probably doing, and you're not punishing this Monkey King at all. Okay, now you kind of are, because he's not punishing the lane, right? But yeah.
No, you don't.
Okay, let's go on.
Good response.
I can't.
Oh, I think you could have killed him there, actually. But that was a good response, Drona. Just know that if you're not 100% sure you'll live, this is very risky. Because
I have to walk the lane.
You won't have TP. And you basically lost the lane if that happens.
Yeah.
Slardar, so you notice... Oh, wait, pause real quick. Slardar, so you notice the lane is not in a good place for you, right? You're 2v1. What can you do to fix this lane?
I was gonna pull the hard camp and check the small camp, so I just...
Yeah, you can pull the hard cap. That's a good start. Pull the hard cap, see what happens.
Yeah.
17:47. Those are the timings to pull hard cap. Okay. And Kazuhiro, for now, let's pretend you don't know he's gonna do that and don't contest him. Okay.
Don't contest.
Unpause. I'm just trying to show you like all of these different scenarios that I was talking about in the theory part, and then let you experience it. Yes, right now it feels bad because you're missing last hits, but that's okay because you're already losing the lane. Because again,
is this part of an elaborate trap you're going to spring on them later? Because it looks like they're really falling for it.
Nice. So now Kazuhiro, you can do whatever you want. So you notice this, Monkey King is farming, right? So he can't contest this lane right now. And you're basically gonna get some denies off. Kazuhiro wants to contest, but he can't do it alone.
Dire's middle tower is
and now the opposite is true, because now pause. So that you see this creep wave? You don't want to miss that. So now you have to leave this jungle camp, and Drona has to 1v2 them for a little while. Right? Or he can choose to run away if he thinks he's just gonna feed. But in either case, you can't be here anymore because these creeps are gonna get hit by the tower and you're gonna miss a lot of gold. So get to it and pause.
Dire's top tower is under attack. It'll probably be fine. Dire's top tower is being attacked. Radiant's middle tower is being attacked. Dire's top tower is under siege.
Rona, just a word of caution. You wanna, in like very tight scenarios where Monkey King is coming at you, you need to be aware that if you would run too early and CM
Yeah, I'll damage
bites you, you'll die for it. So
that's what I've been worried of the entire start.
Yep.
Since the start of the game.
Yeah, well that if you're a healthy distance away from Monkey King, it's not that bad. So okay here, so now Slardar feels strong enough to contest, which I don't think he should because Monkey King's level 7. Good job, John. Good job. Now Monkey King is kind of
Radiant's courier has been callously.
And he lost his Ring of Health. I think this is like an absolute disaster. Because Monkey King was like winning so hard and then suddenly you're gone. So let's see what you guys do about this, right? These are interesting laning dynamics. And the difference is, right now you kill their carry, but Ducky, you have a salve. So when Monkey King comes back into lane, right, you still have full HP, you guys can still bully him.
Yeah.
Rona's getting 2 salves.
Yeah, I
Wait,
kinda didn't think that Slardar has a salve. So I bought one for him.
No,
Now I
it's
realize.
okay, because then once you salve up, you'll be back to full HP, and the next time you guys can trade, right?
I'm an idiot.
Slardar, go to lane, I'm gonna pull. Reveal.
Okay, so next time you wanna try to cut it a little closer.
Not bad.
Next time you wanna cut it a little bit closer. And like, so you stay in lane a little longer, maybe an extra second or so, right? So as you get better at supporting and pulling.
Radiant's bottom tower is being attacked.
Oh, nice. I think, oh, nice, spicy. See, things might have been different had you had mangoes instead of priorities, but. Monkey King, you have to be very careful about that. Remember, he can cut your trees down like really easily. Okay, so this is like a hyper aggressive move by Ducky. And it's very efficient because you get the creep cap and your creeps, right? So, Slardar salving up. So see, Drona, your salve was definitely worth it.
Oh, okay.
Problem is, though, since
No one's contesting. Yeah, no one's contesting.
Contesting Monkey King in a 2v1, right? So the kill didn't matter nearly as much as it should have.
I steal from the slow.
You know what? Get the last hit.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Okay, you're gonna fall. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Sometimes you can do this, especially if like the Slardar is low. Oh, Slardar is not falling. This is really bad, Slardar, by the way. What you just decided to do there is really bad.
Oh my god.
I won't give up.
Okay. Oh. Yeah, that was.
Slardar, dude. Health, dude.
You
That was
deciding
bad.
to like hit those creeps like that was really not grateful. Also, there's a tango on the ground. So Drona,
Yeah,
in
that
this
was-
moment here, you don't need to be in lane.
Yeah.
Right now, like Kazuhiro is significantly lower level than you. Part of that is the kills, but part of that is because you're sapping so much XP from your carry.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you're not actually zoning anything out, so just give him the XP. Exceptions can be made for like level 6, or if like your offlane says he doesn't actually need the levels and he thinks you should take it. But
Wait. Monkey King is there. Oh, that's not good.
That's good.
he almost killed their Monkey King. Okay. So right now neither side is farming, but this is good for Dire. More than it's for Radiant. Monkey, remember they can see you. They can cut your trees, man. Stop doing it. Jesus. Alright. I think we can call it here. You guys can pause the game. Let's just dissect it real quick. Okay. So this lane, Monkey versus Slardar, I think is significantly more okay for Monkey than it was the Jug versus Slardar. Right? But now Slardar won his lane. Right? You notice you got counterpicked. So if Ducky had lost this lane, I would have been okay with it. I'd be like, okay, well, you got counterpicked. It's the investment of counterpicks to counter your hero, right? They're investing more into this lane by counterpicking it, and so less can be expected of you. Also, of course, ideally you win your lane anyway, but that's a different story. So in this case, let's just look at it. Drona and Ducky are both level 8, right? Meanwhile, Kazuhiro's level 4. He's half the level of the other heroes, and Monkey is level 8. So yes, Kazuhiro gave XP to Monkey, but at the same time, not enough, because you have two level 8 heroes here. You essentially have two cores in the lane, and this is why at this point, the Dire is winning really hard because Drona's level 8. He can do a lot. And Kazuhiro can't do nearly as much with very little farm, right? So part of it is, I guess, Lex isn't that familiar with Monkey King, I'm guessing. And then part of it is Kazuhiro's sacrificial style, which has its benefits, wasn't fully exploited. And Drona was able to punish the Crystal Maiden, punish the Monkey King significantly more. One thing I will note is that Crystal Maiden was losing the trades to Drona, right? And remember, the standard thing would have been to get boots and move to the other side. But I never saw Kazuhiro on the right side ever. It was either he was pulling or he was on the left side trading with Drona, which we established would not work because Drona has better right click. He has significantly higher levels now, right? And it just doesn't work like that. So Kazuhiro, what you could have considered is moving to the right side, getting boots early, while Drona didn't get boots and was looking to trade with you. You saw his items, is he's gonna trade. So get boots, don't trade. Okay. Focus on the Slardar. Work with your Monkey King. You guys can definitely kill the Slardar as a pair. And the Drona, on the other hand, as soon as you recognize that the CM got boots and is trying to avoid you, then your next item should be boots. Or if you're next leveling him, then maybe you also get boots. But I think you'd lose those trades actually. If you had boots first item, Crystal Maiden would outdamage you. Because every time you she would just frostbite you, and most of your evasion would be useless because you couldn't actually hit her back. Right? And her nukes just deal more damage than yours do, especially at level 1 and 2. So,
especially since she has 2 and I have 1.
So definitely, I feel like Blightstone is the proper way to go this game. But immediately after, boots would be the response. Right? I will note that Ducky has gone more of an aggressive lane winning build. So Ducky, if you weren't winning your lane right now and you had these items, I would say you fucked yourself. Bracer and Orb of Corrosion means you're stomping the lane, which right now I think you guys are. So that's fine.
Yeah,
I
was originally going for Venom just to zone out the CN and hopefully the Monkey King is catch him or something.
Yep.
But the reason is that I got so many kills in XP. I was confident of getting Bracer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. You need some things to trade with this Monkey King. I would have gotten Bracer first and then Orb of Venom, because you need to make him run away first before you can chase him with Orb of Corrosion. On the Monkey King side, I think at this point this is the proper response. You've lost your lane. Your CM is level 4. Right now, there's nothing you can do about it. You've lost this lane hard, and barring a really big outplay or a mid laner coming into gank twice, you're probably not going to recover from this lane. So what you can consider is just skipping all of the fighting items and just getting a fast Battle Fury. Just skip your items, go jungle, max your tree dance, and then get your Battle Fury as soon as you can. Or treads or whatever it is you need. This is good. Now the problem is Monkey King spent a bunch of money on items that doesn't actually help him. like in this lane, like if Monkey King hits Slardar, Slardar doesn't automatically run away. There's some lanes where that's true against Tide, right? Stuff like that. They're gonna run away the moment Monkey starts hitting him. But in this lane, Slardar can also hit Monkey King. So the way you look at it is, if you hit them and they hit you, what you can get is a Wraith Band or a Bracer. Sometimes a Null, but mostly Wraith Bands and Bracers. If you hit them and they run away, then you can get an Orb of Venom. And if they hit you and you run away, then you can consider Boots. Okay? And then you can consider just leaving the lane early. In this case, Monkey King, you're hitting them and they're hitting you, and yeah, Orb of Venom is useless because Orb of Venom is only ever useful if they're just running away from you. If they're just hitting you in a straight up fight, it gives you basically no damage. Wraith Band would have given you more armor, more attack speed, more damage, more HP even. All of those things would have been significantly better for you. And this infused raindrops, like what's the point of it? Like the only thing that it blocks is Wind Ranger's power shot, which I never saw her actually use on you. Right? So this is like 500 gold that's going to items that you don't actually need. So right now you're like 500 gold behind Slardar, but because of your items, you're actually more like 1,000 gold behind Slardar. Right? So these are just the things you want to consider. But again, I think at this point, the lanes are over. Monkey King would probably just jungle and maybe defend tower if he can. So I think we can call this exercise done. I think this would be like a dire victory in terms of laning, because again, Monkey King had the chance to counter pick and he lost to Slardar anyway, and that's like the worst scenario. So yeah, are there any questions about this game or about any of the concepts I covered so far? Nothing?
One thing I have is, as a offlane,
Yeah.
when do you really, as a safe lane, when do you really side pull? I mean, pull the camp with hard camp instead of the soft.
Okay, so basically, can you guys basically once the camp is like shoved into their tower, if you can, you have like a big creep wave, it's hitting their tower, and then you can pull the hard camp. Other times you can do it as if you have a way, because the problem is, the problem with pulling the hard camp is that there's going to be a creep wave coming into you, right? And so you have to have a way to deal with that creep wave. So if you have a Battle Fury at 9 minutes, then sure, you can pull the hard camp for efficiency. If you're a Jug with a spin that you can afford to use, keyword being you can afford to use, right? Afford to use it. So if you spin the creep wave and they're not gonna kill you immediately for spinning, then you can spin that creep wave and your support can pull the hard camp, right? Basically what happens, I'm gonna go back to Paint. Okay, so just watch my stream. Don't save. Paint. Okay, so if you guys can see right now,
You have to stop sharing on Discord and Discord.
oh yeah. Here, we go back to Paint. So basically what happens is, okay, if this is the lane, and you guys, and then it's Radiant, like the creeps are already, this is the tower, the Dire Tower, this is the Radiant Tower, right? This is the river here. Right? If your creeps are already here, hitting their tower, or here chasing their hero, then that's when you can pull the hard camp. Now, why is it okay to pull the hard camp here? Because let's look at what happens, right? If you pull the hard camp, and let's say you're the one, you're here, the offlaner should be here under tower getting last hits, right? If you pull the hard camp here, there's going to be a creep wave here, and then there's going to be support here, or the support could be over here also with you, right? And then therefore the 4 can't actually contest the creep wave, because the 4 will be trading with the 1, which means that the 4 can't actually just sneak in here and get the camp. Okay? what typically happens, okay, this is like the ideal scenario. Now, let's say you pull in a less than ideal scenario. So what happens, right? So let's say the creep wave was here, right? Or just like over here. And your creeps are over here. And then your support decides to pull the creep wave, the creep camp here, okay? So there's gonna be a creep camp here. There's gonna be a creep camp, and then they're gonna be fighting the neutrals, and you're gonna be here. What the offlaner needs to do here, if it isn't done already, when the moment this he needs to kill your creeps, right? And then basically what's gonna happen? There are two creep waves here on the Radiant, right? So what's gonna happen is the Dire is also gonna have two creep waves. One of the creep waves is gonna be right here, on the
one. Yeah.
right? So if the one basically has two options, he can either drag it here and basically move the lane from here to here, which does nothing. That doesn't do that much, really, except there's a neutral camp that can maybe cast some spells on some unlucky person. But more likely, the one is going to retreat here under his tower. Okay. Because again, if he stands here and the offlaner hits him, he's going to lose a lot of HP.
Right? Plus the 4 can also hit him at that point.
And the 4
Both of
can
them.
also hit him, yeah. So what the one will have to do, if he gets forced into it, is he's going to take this on their tower here. The Dire creep wave is here, right? And he can't move from that, because if he leaves this camp, his tower is going to take damage. He's going to take damage, right? And so what's going to happen is their 3 will go here, their 4 will be here. What happens to the 5?
The 5 also has to go away, and I guess 3 and 4, 3 and 4 get 2. I mean, a creep wave and a neutral camp.
Yeah, exactly. Both. This is like the disaster scenario that people pull the hard camp without thinking about it, and basically you just gave them more farm. The only time it's acceptable to pull like this is if it's a 1v2. Right? Tying back into the concept where, if there's only one hero in your lane, then it's okay if the opponent gets farm, so long as you get some farm too, which you did, right? But if it's an equal lane, or God forbid, a good lane, and you do this, you're giving the opponent farm for no reason at all, right? You basically did the pull for them.
Yeah.
Right? And this is the worst, the nightmare scenario. Worse still is if the 5 dies. It doesn't back up fast enough. But if, let's say, he backs up, then these guys get a creep camp and a creep wave, right? I guess there's one other disaster scenario where the carry is already on their tower, and then actually no, that's not possible. I guess it's not possible because then they wouldn't be able to pull. But yeah, that's the disaster scenario. So when do you pull? Is when the creep wave is already here, right? Or maybe if the creep wave is here, your creep wave is here, and then you start shoving the lane with your spin, or you auto attack the wave so fast that most of this dies, like your Terror Blade or something, or a PL or something, that you can shove it, and then let's say you shove it, and then your creeps go on their tower here, right? And then these creeps eventually die to tower, and then they have a creep wave coming in, and then you're a PL or something here. You just tap this whole creep wave in front of their face, because you have so much armor, because you're so much stronger than the opponent, or you like the carry axe. The offlaner and the 4 will still be around here, and then you slowly do a fighting retreat where you go this way, slowly killing this entire creep wave, and then eventually being able to rejoin your support here. So if they try to contest, it's going to be it's just going to be you and your creep wave versus them and nothing. That's the idea.
Yeah.
So typically this kind of hard camp pulling thing is only done if you have a hero that can shove the lane really fast. So we're talking Underlords, we're talking Axes, we're talking Centaurs, maybe Legion Commander, stuff like that. The opposite is also true. If the opponent off lane shoves the lane, like again, Underlord is the big one, and I've been telling students this since the beginning of time, is if you don't want to lane against them, just shove the lane into their tower and then pull the hard camp. And essentially, what you do is you cut the amount of farm the opponent can get in half. Right? Because
Instead of trying to stand in lane and deny their farm, you're denying it by pulling it into the hard camp.
Pulling it into the hard camp and denying. If you can get 2 camps here, you can keep pulling indefinitely.
Yeah.
Like their creeps will die so fast. And this is a danger, by the way. So if a support, let's say your support is weak, your carry is weak, and your support accidentally stacks this camp, it makes it so easy for the offlaner and their support to pull the camp and keep denying your creeps. So this is all stuff you need to be aware of. So if you're weak in lane, you really need to consider blocking this camp and protecting this camp. Right?
Got it. Yeah.
Similarly, if the off lane is weak in this lane, then they can consider blocking this camp and protecting this camp. And then, again, there are counters to that where they trade and everything. But that comes down to you guys. Right? But these are the thought processes. These are the things that you can consider that will drastically change the outcome of the lane. And honestly speaking, if you understand this, even like half the level, like I'm trying to explain it to you, and you're going to be stomping your lanes like so many times because most people are just stumbling in the dark. And like my biggest example was this one where it's a Slardar versus Jug, and then if the Slardar is here, and then if the Jug is up here, and they don't understand why the creeps are here, like suddenly the Slardar gets multiple hits off on the Jug until he gets on their tower, and he wins the lane, and it stomps easy, whatever. But he never understood that the reason that's like that is because the creeps were here. Right? And then suddenly he encounters a situation where the creeps are right next to the tower, which happened in the last game, and the Jug was here, and the Slardar was here, and then he lost his lane, and he has no idea why. And a lot of it is actually just where the creeps are positioned, right? Where the heroes are positioned in that X that I made. If you can understand this and like assess like what can I do, where can I go, how do I do it, and then you can actually turn like the laning stage, which is something I don't get to focus. This is why I wanted to do this, because I don't get to focus on this very often in a game because I'm coaching 3 lanes right at the same time. But if you can understand this and actually implement it, and this is something you're gonna be doing until like I don't know, like 8K. Honestly, like people still don't do it perfectly. I don't even do this perfectly. But if you're able to consciously think about this and then eventually turn a lot of this into instinct, you're going to be a significantly better laner, and then you're probably gonna win like 90%, if not more, of your lanes, just by understanding these matchups. If you have a support that you play with regularly, it's gonna get even better for you. But whether or not you do, if you just understand what you can and cannot do, what you want and do not want to do, then you can actually like create like this formulaic way of dissecting a lane and understanding even the really weird matchups. Because at the end of the day, you just think about what does it mean if they have a Timbersaw. It just means that I can't harass their offlane very much, or I can only harass the offlane levels 1 and 2. Right? If you think about it, it's a Broodmother. What does it mean? It just means that the carry can't trade with the Broodmother, but it doesn't really affect what the supports do. And if you keep the lane close to the tower, Broodmother still can't really dive tower until significantly later. Right? So if you break it down into these basics, you can analyze basically any lane. There are going to be some exceptions. There are going to be some lanes harder to understand than others, and lanes where you have less options available to you than others. But these are like the basic principles of laning. And I think, yeah. Does anyone have any other questions?
I have one more question. So I've been a support in a lane where I've gotten into sentry wars, where I tried blocking their camp and then I unblock and then block it and then block it again. How far back should I keep doing this? Should I not commit too much or should I go over to one?
Okay, so that depends. Again, what does winning the sentry war mean?
They can't pull.
They can't pull. You can pull, right? But what does pulling mean?
Resetting the creep wave. Reset the lane.
It means that you can dictate where the creep wave will be. Right?
Yeah.
So the next question is, how important is it for you to dictate where the creep wave will be?
That depends on the matchup.
That
Yeah, I get
depends
it.
on the matchup, right? So like if you're against a Slardar and you're a Jug, you understand that if you are ever past like this point, that you are fucked, that your carry is fucked, this lane is over, then maybe that's a time that you consider that I can't, right? Like I can't give up on this, because if I don't do this, I will lose this lane. Right? That's the that's the big difference here, really. It's just understanding how important is it for you to control where the lane is. If you guys are gonna win anyway, you're like, I'll shrug my shoulders and be like, okay, they're already broke ass support, spent 200 gold on stuff that I don't care about, and then I'm just gonna bully his off lane anyway, regardless of where the lane is, and then that's fine, right? In other games, like you understand just how important it is to keep the creep waves near your tower, so you're going to bleed yourself dry until you can keep that pull cap open, right? There are gonna be cute tricks where you can bait the support into putting a ward, and then you deward it, so you get more efficiency. But ultimately, the bottom line is you have to be able to control the camp because you value it that much.
Yeah. Alright. I actually have one more question. So, what is the time when you? So, I have heard about dragging. I've tried it out in my own games, but not really well. So, what is the point when you really give up on the lane and start dragging creeps?
Okay, ideally, actually, I would say it's not that you give up on the lane, it's that that's your plan from the very beginning. So ideally, like let's say, I think the classic example was the one BSJ gave, where it was Undying versus anything really, because the problem with Undying as a hero is like if you stand in lane and he stands in lane, he can't, you're gonna lose, right? Because he's just gonna suck all your strength and you're not gonna be able to do anything. But the weakness of Undying, that's his strength. The weakness of Undying is that he has no slows. He has no
Other than the tombstone.
Yeah, Tombstone, which is like a slow, but only if you stand in the same spot. Which, if you're dragging waves, does not happen. So basically, the thing is, even if he bought boots, he can't stop you from dragging waves. And so against an Undying, that's when you can do it. When can you not do it? What heroes are really good at, like, let's say, because the thing is, when you're dragging, right, you're in a vulnerable position. You're behind the enemy tower, so that means the enemy carry can converge on you, right? It means the support is definitely chasing you, right? So when can you not drag? And that also means there's a creep wave right fucking here hitting you. So if you stop moving for whatever reason, if you get slowed significantly, you are going to get killed really quickly. And then this, like you say the creeps are here. But if the carry is able to kill you so fast that he just walks back, he missed one creep and he killed you for it, that's when you can't drag, right? And basically, what happens with dragging is you're going to get 50-50. Like, that's the best case scenario, because again, creeps are on their tower. So if the carry is an AM and then you have a Slardar off lane, what you're doing is every time you drag a creep wave, right?
Slardar's not getting XP.
Slardar is not getting XP, and on top of that, AM is getting farm.
Yeah.
So at best, when you drag, you're hoping for a 50-50. Unless your opponent doesn't know what you're doing. In which case, you can drag whenever and just exploit the fuck out of it. But yeah. Like when you drag, it's basically admitting that at best you're gonna get a 50-50. So probably you can consider it like if you have a Timber Saw and an Earthshaker against an Undying, and then you're like, okay, we can't sit in lane against this, right? Or let's say
where you expect that the lane is gonna go so bad that you start doing it from the very start.
Yeah, where you know that is your only option is to not lane. You can also consider this against kill combos. Deadly kill combos. Remember? Like the important part is the combo. So if you can split them, which is what this should do. If they're smart, they'll split. If they're not smart, they're gonna lose half their waves. Then you can also use this to split up combos. When you can't do this is if the support has a lot of slows, a lot of stuns. It's basically gonna punish you so much that you're gonna lose too much HP dragging. Because there is a whole creep wave hitting you. And people don't understand a lot of the time. Like just how much damage we're talking about. But it's a lot. It's basically 3 heroes hitting you. If the support and the creep wave's hitting you. That's a lot of damage and you might just die from it. So against the Dazzle, you're probably less likely to want to do this.
So who should be doing it? Should the 3 be dragging or should the 4 be dragging?
Okay, so this is getting into like really advanced territory. I would generally say the 4 should be the one doing it. But whoever has the highest move speed actually is probably the best answer.
Can I go?
Who's asking?
Is that okay for me to go?
Yeah, sure, dude. Go ahead. I'm just answering some questions here. Yeah, probably the 4. But if you watch, I think you should watch BSJ's video because he has put way more thought into dragging and experienced it way more. But basically, he says that sometimes it has to be the 3. If the 3 is low, and he thinks he can get away with it, so that he can like not get harassed as much. Basically, that's the idea there. But basically anybody can drag. It's just a matter of like what's better. If you're faster, generally it's gonna be your job to drag. If you bought boots, then it's definitely your job to drag if you decide that's the way to go. And if you're gonna drag, you should buy boots. So again, those two like go hand in hand. Your plan should coincide with your items, and your items should support your plan. Anything else?
That's it from my side.
No other questions from anyone else? Okay. So in that case, I think we can just call this session over. Honestly, this took way longer than I thought it would.
Yeah, seriously.
Seriously, but like there was a lot to cover, and I really wanted to make sure everybody understood it. So yeah, GG guys. I hope you guys learned something about laning stage. I'm not gonna call this a short guide because I've been traumatized by people who call short guides that aren't actually short. Short. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys all learned something. Honestly, if you guys can implement this, it's gonna be a big help in your games. And it's probably the one thing that I really can't coach that well in unranked games. So yeah, I think we can call it. See you guys around.